Hello and welcome to episode 55 of the Gamers of the Lost Spark podcast. I'm your host, Darren Whittam, and joining me this week is the other spark on the pod, the digital creation connoisseur, Anthony Chesson.
Oh, hello sir, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I'm very good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I'm not too bad at all. It's good to be podding.
It is. It's always good to be podding in this warm weather.
Yeah, it is quite warm down south. It's first day really. That it's kind of quite nice. Summer is here and all of that malarkey.
Yeah, I think it was the first day of summer the other day. So
right,
this is it for me. I've got today. Make the most of it. I'll spend my summer podcasting, and then it'll be back to rain tomorrow.
Superb. Yep, the summer's here. Wimbledon's about to start, so it's about to rain. So it's all good fun.
Yeah, it always rains when Wimbledon's on, doesn't it?
So how's your week been, dude?
It's been okay. What have I been doing? A few things to mention. What have I done? I went on an HDR mission. After we spoke last week, do you remember? And I wasn't sure about getting HDR through my telly.
Yes.
Well, I rang up Samsung and got assured that it was HDR, but it doesn't seem to sort of go HDR mode when I'm playing some HDR. And HDR material is hard to find, especially as it turns out that the Netflix app on my TV doesn't have that HDR facility yet.
Right.
So when I go into Netflix and look at, say, Marco Polo, it just has HD and 4K. Doesn't have that extra HDR screenshot or little block with HDR on, which is annoying. So I tried downloading some HDR footage, just some HDR sample video, which I played on my PC. And I couldn't really see any difference, but then I noticed there was an option to cast it to the TV, and when I cast it to the TV, it did seem better. So yeah, I'm not sure yet. Until I might subscribe to Amazon Video, because I know that they've got some HDR footage, because they've got Mozart in the Jungle is HDR, whatever that is.
Right.
So I could just do a free trial, just to see what the HDR is like, because I'm not convinced that I've actually seen it yet, and it's really scarce. So that was quite interesting. I did some reading up of what HDR is, and basically it's an added range to without HDR, your TV doesn't do its range starts at black, say at and say the black range will start at, I don't know, say 55 on a chart. And then it'll go right up to the brightest, which would be, I don't know, say 200. This isn't exactly right. But when you've got HDR, it starts from, instead of starting at 55 for your blacks, it'll start a lot earlier than that. It starts I don't know if it starts at 0, but let's just say, for argument's sake, it starts at 0. So you've got a lot more gradients of black even before you would start in the normal range, and then the same at the other end of the range. So say usually you get brightness up to 200 on the scale, and HDR gives you up to 255, and so you get a lot more scale on the maximum brights and the darkest darks, and you get more of a range, and that's why it's called high dynamic range. So yeah, you get more colour, don't you? You get more colour, you get more difference between your lights and your darks. So I was having a look at that and enjoyed investigating it and just sort of understanding a little bit more what it was about. Even though that explanation may not get it across that I actually understood it at all. So that was cool. I also got my final birthday present through the post, which was the book from Boss Fight Books, Spelunky.
Oh, yes. Oh, awesome. Because we were talking about those on the pod a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we covered those because I found out that they were bringing out a book about Spelunky. Thought it was newsworthy.
Yep.
And yeah, I've got the book now. Hooray.
Oh, fantastic. Superb. And have you started reading it yet?
I have. I'm on page 45.
Right.
It's only 50 pages long. No, I'm only kidding. It's it's about 210 pages. And yeah, it's nice. It's a nice book. It's got a great picture of an aubergine or eggplant on the cover, sort of referencing the eggplant run that you can do in Spelunky. It's by Derek Yu, and it's an autobiographical book of the creation of the game. And so far, it's really enjoyable. They did send me another book by accident. They sent me the wrong book, first of all. This is number 11, Spelunky, because they do a list of all different books that we've covered before. This is the latest one, I think. Or maybe it's not the latest one. So they do, there's not many. There's, I think, 12 in the series. So they've got Earthbound, Chrono Trigger, ZZT, Gallagher, Jagged Alliance 2, Super Mario Bros. 2, Bible Adventures, Baldur's Gate 2, Metal Gear Solid, Shadow of the Colossus, Spelunky, World of Warcraft. And you can get the whole collection if you want. But they sent me Chrono Trigger by accident, but I've got no interest in Chrono Trigger at all, really. So maybe I need to find a good home for that. Do you like Chrono Trigger?
No, I'm not a big fan of the Chrono Triggers. No, but what are the books? Is it the story of Spelunky? Is it how it was made? Is it a making of? Is it a director's commentary? Or
yeah, it's an autobiographical book of Derek Yu telling the tale of the creation of the game.
Right.
He starts off with a game that he created previous, a bit of history about what he did, what he enjoyed, why he got into creating games. And yeah, I'm not that far into it, but yeah, then he gets on to he wanted to create a roguelike, and he was trying to work out what would make his roguelike stand out from other roguelikes. And this was at a time when there hadn't been a game like Spelunky, so there hadn't been a roguelike that was sort of a 2D platformer.
Right.
And he's just talking about that at the moment, and it goes all apparently, because I haven't read it yet, but it just goes into the entire creation process. And it's a good read. He's written a good book, and it's easy to read. And yeah, it's really good.
Oh, that's fantastic. I mean, are you not interested in the other one, in the Chrono Trigger one, just as the making of that book, or does it just not pique your interest at all?
No, I've never been. I don't even know what Chrono Trigger is really. It's quite famous. I do hear about it and stuff, but it's not a game I've ever been interested in. So I've just got it. I've just got it here doing nothing. So I was thinking of doing a competition or something for that book.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, but if someone wins it in the States, it's going to cost me a fortune to send it.
Well, we could just do a UK Twitter only and then kind of put it on Twitter or something.
Yeah, maybe we could do that. So, but the other good thing that wouldn't cost me any postage at all is that I've also got an ebook of Derek Yu's Spelunky book from Boss Fight Books, and I've got permission to give that away.
Oh, wow.
From Boss Fight Books. So we can definitely do a competition for that and give someone a nice ebook of Spelunky. So for anyone that's interested, so maybe we put that on Twitter as well.
Oh, fantastic! You just give today. You're like giving out your birthday presents.
Wow.
I was just jumped onto bossfightbooks.com, and I'll stick a link in the show notes. But have you seen the season 3 books that are coming? Because what's Spelunky's season 2? Have you seen the season 3 books that are coming?
No.
There's Kingdom Hearts 2.
Ooh.
And also Katamari Damacy.
Oh wow! Oh, wow.
They've also got Super Mario Bros. 3 and Mega Man 3. But the two that would definitely pique your interest would be Katamari and Kingdom Hearts.
Wow, man. I can't believe it. I can't believe I didn't know that.
It's like, here are books for you, Darren. Is basically what this website should be called.
Booksfordaz.com.
And it looks like Kingdom Hearts is by Alexa Ray. And if I am not mistaken, Alexa Ray works for GameSpot over in the UK. I mean, in the US.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so that's really interesting. And there's a couple coming. And also, there's a Shadow of the Colossus book, which is written by Nick Sutner. And Nick Sutner is actually part of the PlayStation blog team.
Ah, there you go, you see. So these are respected figures in the industry writing these books. I mean, the Spelunky, I think, is the first one that's actually written by the creator of the game itself.
Right.
Which is great, but I'd have probably got it anyway. I'm just trying to find the Katamari one so I can see the cover.
It's really cool. It's a really good one. If you do coming soon, go to bossfightbooks.com and click on coming soon. It's a great little. I like the Metal Gear Solid. It's just a cardboard box.
Oh, I love it. Yeah. So it's a great place. This book that I've bought so far is really good. So no reason why the others shouldn't be. And the trouble is with it, if you're in the UK, is the shipping costs about the same as the book.
Right.
So you're looking at about £12 to get the book. But it's not that much. It's not loads. It's not like £50 to get a book or anything. And they do the e-versions anyway. So you can just get the e-versions if you don't. And you can get the e-versions of all these books on Amazon, I believe. But I wanted the actual hard copy.
Yeah, I think the gorgeous thing about these books is the actual book itself, isn't it? They would look really cool on a shelf.
In all a set.
That. Yeah, absolutely. That would look really cool and really nice. That's really cool.
So that's really cool. And the other thing that I did this week was I gathered up my Vive equipment and took it off to a friend of the show, Steez, from Globe Gig Media. and took it to his studio, because he's got this studio where he does all his recording and stuff. So we cleared a space, and we got like the maximum space that you can have for the Vive.
Wow.
So that was pretty good. I think we got about just under 4 by 4 meters square, which might have been a little bit over the recommended maximum, which is 5 meters diagonal from the sensors, from sensor to sensor. So we had some great fun there. You know, it was great. You sort of felt untethered. The wire reached all the way across, just about all across this play space, so that was really cool. We were saying, we need to extend the wire and get it even bigger. So that was really cool, feeling that amount of space and that amount of freedom in VR. Steve's dad, he's over 70 years old, he had a go. And that was pretty good to watch. He was a bit unsure at first. He stood very still as the tutorial went through the stuff. He sort of said, lift up the controls and have a look at them, and he was just stood with his hands by his sides. It's like, Ron, you can look at the controls, you know. Maybe it was a mistake, but I should say, put him on the game Unseen Diplomacy, which is one of the games that uses the room scale to its fullest. And me and Steve had both had a go. And the thing is, this is a bit of a roguelike, because it's different every time you play it. It randomly generates the level. And what it is you take the part of like an agent, and you're trying to infiltrate a base. And it has you weaving it up and down on yourself, stepping over lasers, balancing on little ledgeways, crawling through vents, and all things like that. It's a bit like Crystal Maze, actually. Each room's a little puzzle. For instance, there'll be a door, and it's got a circuit that's joining something else, and you've got to give power to that circuit to make the door open, things like that. There'll be another room where there's loads of drawers, and you're looking for a key to unlock the door. And anyway, so me and Steve both had a go. We'd had no crawling whatsoever, and Ron had a go. Every room was like a vent, a little vent that he had to open up with the screwdriver that was on the floor and then crawl through it. And I've got to give him his due. He was crawling along all over the place. I was a bit worried at one point when he sort of was getting up. And I was like, oh, wow, Ron, you're doing really well. He's like, not bad for over 70, he's saying. So that's the power of VR. It can get people over 70 crawling around on the floor. And he was like, I hope this floor's clean. And I was kind of like, yeah, it did need a sweep. But look around, Ron. It's really clean in where you are in VR. Don't think about the filth on the studio floor. So that was quite funny. So we had a good laugh with that. And I was playing a demo of one called the Brookhaven Experiment. This is one where you stand. It's a standing game. You don't really move around too much, but you stood in the middle of a desolate waste at night, presumably after a zombie apocalypse, because zombies are all around you, inching their way towards you, and you've got a gun with so many bullets and a torch with only so much battery. When you're using the battery, it's counting down in the torch.
Oh my god.
And with the gun, you get like a clip, and then you've got to like sort of reload the gun as well, which takes a bit of time. And we're so used to, I don't know, just not being surrounded when you play it on a game. Even when you have to spin round, it's different in VR. So you're concentrating on the zombie in front of you, and you can see him, and they're like limbering, and it's dark and it's scary, man. And we heard it all hooked up to Steve's PA as well in the studio, so it was like really loud, and atmospheric. So it's like, and then the zombies are shuffling along, and you're like, right, okay, I'm going to get this one. But while you're focusing on the ones in front of you, you've got this feeling that doesn't stop. Well, you don't even realise on the first time you play it, because that scares people when they turn around and there's them behind you. But you're always thinking, they're behind me. So you've got to like be really accurate, then spin round and see if there's anyone behind you. And anyway, my ammo was getting low, and I was holding the torch and the gun together, sort of like, I don't know, Bruce Willis in Die Hard or something, thinking I was like cool. Like going, right, I'm ready, because my torch is shining whenever my gun's pointing. Bang, 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 bang. And then I was reloading, and a load of zombies from the front were getting really close. I was like, no. So I finished them off, and then I was looking around frantically to see if there was any more. And all of a sudden, Steve grabbed my shoulder.
Oh, no.
I jumped about 5 foot in the air, man. It was like, whoa! I tell you, man, it's like the biggest jump scare ever. It's so funny.
That's so cool. That's hilarious.
Yeah, man. If you ever have a go, we'll do it to you. And you won't. You can't fight it off.
No,
because you get so engrossed in the game, and all of a sudden it's like a hand on your shoulder with a whir in your ear. You're like, what? So that was hilarious. So Yeah, that was it. Good night on Vive round at Steve's house. Brought it all home now. It didn't take long to set up, really. So yeah, that was really cool. So what about yourself?
I've had quite a good weekend, quite a nice weekend. I went to see the new DreamWorks. I think it's Illuminated Studios, which was the people who made Minions, which was the new film from them, which was Secret Life of Pets. So went to see that on Saturday, and that's really good fun. I really enjoyed it. I was a little bit worried because they showed a trailer which had a really good bit about the movie. It was like a really kind of fun thing, and then another trailer kind of added the kind of story, the adventure. And I thought, oh no, the chuckles is going to be in the first bit of the movie where they show kind of pets being left on their own. But luckily, the movie just kind of throughout was just a really fun romp. And a really, really good movie. So really enjoyed that. That was really cool on Saturday morning. We went about 10 a.m. in the morning, so there was a lot of kids in the cinema. But when kids are well behaved, it's really nice to hear them laugh. When the kind of bits come up, and it's also nice to hear the different laughs as well, because you'll get the visual stuff will be the kids chuckling, but then the jokes that are there for the adults and for the parents, it's always fun to kind of hear them laugh, and then kids kind of not laughing at the same things. So that was really good. It's a really good movie. I think it comes out properly next week.
Okay,
but it's this was like a preview, one of those kind of like preview things, and it was really good. It was really good fun.
Well, you're the movie mogul, man. I hadn't heard of this one.
Yeah, no, it's called Secret Life of Pets, and it's very cool. It's very cool. Especially, like I say, the opening bit was really cool when all of the owners are leaving the pets on their own, and you just see kind of what they do when they've left. And it was the main character was actually voiced by Louis C.K. And he was just perfect. He was just absolutely perfect. His voice, the way they did it, it was just really good. I really enjoyed it, and that was the main pull for me because I'm a big Louis C.K. fan.
Yeah, I'm just in the middle of watching his show for the second time.
Right, that's such a great show. It really is.
I really like it.
I love that. Have you seen these stand-up things as well? The stand-up shows.
No, not a full. I mean, he features stand-up in his show, doesn't he? Like similar to Seinfeld, but I haven't seen actually him doing pure stand-up a whole show.
Oh right, check it out on both on Sky and also on Netflix. They have like a full kind of hour and a half stand-up of Louis C.K.
Oh, brilliant! But I love his series. Have you seen his series? I think it's about 3 or 4 seasons of it.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah, I really like it, and you'll love it because it's in New York, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely! It's absolutely superb. I mean, I think I'm up to date with all of them, and I kind of watched that when that kind of first came out, and it was just like, oh, it's so good. It's such a good. I love that show. The theme tune is awesome to that. It's just Louie. So there you go. I knew I would butcher it, but you would do it some justice. So so we went to see that. Went to see Secret Life of Pets. I highly recommend it. Sam would love it. It is very funny. And like well worth a watch. So went to see Secret Life of Pets, and then Nicola and I have got, and I'm totally late in the game with this, but we have got absolutely addicted to The Flash on TV. It's on Sky. A friend of mine at work kind of said to me, you really should be watching this. And I started watching Arrow, didn't like Arrow, don't like the guy who plays Oliver Queen, and I kind of got turned off of it. So I watched Supergirl, love Supergirl, but I never watched any of the others. And he was like, no, you really need to watch Flash. So we started watching Flash, and we just got absolutely hooked on it. I mean, to the point where when we got home on Saturday, we ended up watching like 3 or 4 episodes, and we were just on these like kind of hour long, kind of 40 minutes when you take out the adverts, and we were just absolutely like, do you want to watch another one? And we're like, yeah, let's watch another one. And it is just so good. It's full of kind of DC nods. There's a lot of stuff in there for the fanboys and stuff, and I'm just absolutely loved every minute of it. So we just got to, on Monday night, we finished season 1. So season 1 is now kind of done and dusted, and it was absolutely superb.
Well, you know me, I'm a bit of an amateur on this stuff, these heroes. So what does the Flash do? Does he light up?
No, the Flash runs really fast.
Ah, cool.
So
he's not blind or anything.
No, that's Daredevil. No, he was hit by a lightning storm when something happened, and Barry Allen was hit by a lightning storm, and he became the Flash. So it's absolutely fantastic. They have had in Supergirl, they've had a Supergirl Flash crossover. Every now and then in Flash, Arrow will come in, or other characters from Arrow, and I just absolutely love it. There's something, I don't know what it is, but I guess it's just because I've been reading comic books for too many decades, and I think there's something about when characters cross over to another character's TV show or movie. I just absolutely love. I've always said that I would love that when X-Men were fighting, Spider-Man just flew through and that sort of stuff, because that's what happens in the comic books. So every now and then when you get these kind of crossovers, it just really does kind of make me geek out. And the Supergirl Flash crossover was just perfect. It was really cool, but I really enjoyed the Flash. We're now going to watch the second season. Unfortunately, unfortunately they're not available on Sky. I've got a couple of them bagged on Sky Plus, on the hard drive, but I didn't do a series link right from the start. So I kind of reached out to Sky yesterday on Twitter, and they basically said they're not going to put it on demand for a while. So I think my only other choice is to go to iTunes and buy the season from iTunes.
Yeah. What sort of audience is it targeting? Because Daredevil was sort of the older generation, like more of an 18 thing. Is this a family show?
It is. It's from the CW network, and so the CW network is kind of more of it's family friendly. It's a family friendly program. So it's not as violent. Obviously, there is still kind of fights every now and then, and etc. But it's just a family friendly show. So there's no swearing, minimal blood, and it's just kind of it's an 8 o'clock at night time kind of TV program. Like I say, coupled with that, you got that and Supergirl, and I've also been told that DC Legends of Tomorrow, which has a whole raft of DC characters, including the Atom, who crossed into the Flash for one episode. I've been told that if I like the Flash, then that's one to watch, so I might try and give that a whirl now that we've just finished season 1 of the Flash.
Okay, cool. This is not superheroes, but still TV, have you heard, or even better, have you seen a series called Silicon Valley? I
have. Silicon Valley, there's 3 seasons. I've got the first 2 seasons on my hard drive, and I'm just trying to find a time where I can slot that in, because that looks like it's right up my avenue.
Yeah, I'm hearing that it's really good, but I haven't started watching it yet.
I watched the first episode. On a train. I just kind of downloaded it from the Sky app, and I watched the first episode on there, and I really enjoyed it. And I just said to Nicola, dude, this is something that you're going to love. So we're just kind of trying to find. There's only so much TV you can watch. So we've got The Good Wife and Blue Bloods are finishing this week. I think we're on the last episode of both of those. So we're going to have those slots will need to be filled. So The Preacher's going to be one of them, and then we're looking for some other stuff. So maybe that would be that will fill it.
I always like it that you've seen that you're watching The Good Wife, because I know whenever any law or legislation matters come up on the podcast, you've always got an opinion.
Absolutely.
From your learnings from The Good Wife.
From my because that's it. Anything tech, because they do a lot of technology stuff, so I'm there. But unfortunately, the Good Wife's finishing this season. They've decided they've wrapped it up halfway through the season. They were told that that's it, so they're wrapping up.
It's so annoying, isn't it, when that happens?
It really is, because it's quite funny, because they've had a couple of episodes, and it was really funny. We were watching it one Sunday, and we will get to games in a moment, but we were watching it one Sunday, and it was just really weird. And The Good Wife was just basically saying goodbye to everybody, and I was like, and I just reached for my phone and just kind of putting like Good Wife, and then I found out that they'd actually stopped it halfway, that they kind of decided to wrap it up. So it really does feel like you had this story arc that was happening, and then suddenly it's like, right, we're finishing in 4 episodes time, so you got to wrap this up.
Yeah, it just gets condensed. It
really does.
It's so annoying. It's another reason why I don't start watching things. I think these days I don't watch anything until it's finished. Well, maybe not like the whole story arc, but certainly a few seasons.
Yes.
Because you never know. And my mate told me this horror story of this show that he really loved. He really got into this show called Alias.
Oh,
and he
yes,
loved it.
I loved Alias.
Really loved it. I think it's got quite a following, and it just got dumped.
Yep, it really did.
And
Alias was super.
A billion voices cried out at once, sort of thing.
Alias was absolutely. It was J.J. Abrams, one of J.J. Abrams' very early shows. Jennifer Garner played the main character. Victor Garbo, who's now in Flash, he was in it. absolutely superb. But they did wrap it up, but you're right, it did just get prematurely cancelled.
It's never right, is it, when it's prematurely cancelled?
No.
I mean, I think the greatest example is the Prisoner, for an early example of just what? There was a story there, but they just closed it. It was supposed to be like so many seasons. They closed it all got like 5 seasons into one episode at the end. What?
Oh, it was like was it Blake 7 as well? Did they do it for that as well? Very old.
Did they do it for Blake 7
I think Blake 7 was kind of very like synonymous for that. They just ended up and then they just wrapped it up. They were like, no, we're not making any more of these. And then they just went a little bit crazy.
And they all lived happily ever after.
And they all blew up.
Yeah, they all blew up.
So that's kind of my week. So let's get to games. What have you been playing, sir? What have you been playing this week?
Well, as I talked about in what we've been doing, playing quite a bit of Assorted Delights on the Vive.
Right.
So I won't dwell too much on that. But my main game this last week has been Dark Souls 3.
Oh, you're still chugging away at Dark Souls?
Yeah, I love it. But it's strange, It's got me. It's got me. So it's kind of like, whereas sometimes you can feel the difficulty a little bit like before I started. It's like, oh no, I don't want to get dragged into this because it's so hard. And I forgot about the other side of it, which is it's so hard, but you sort of love it. Punish me more.
Yes.
You sort of love it, and when I'm away from it, I'm thinking about it, and I don't mind. I don't mind how difficult it is, because I suppose it's not really difficulty. It's just about learning. It's just about learning and care and attention and planning and forethought and exploring carefully. And I'm just at the stage now where it's just so enjoyable, but so full of trepidation, where every step is careful.
Wow.
But also when I'm going through some of the older areas, it's great to go back through those older areas where you were equally so careful and full of trepidation and fear, and you just walk through because you've learned that area, and these baddies that just made mincemeat out of you, earlier on in the game, and you're just like, whop-cha! You ain't no thing anymore, and that's a great feeling too. You're just like, stand down, enemy. But I'm not that far in. I'm up to a boss called the Abyss Watchers now, and I found the first boss that I found that I got stuck on for a while. I didn't realise until after I'd defeated it. It was an optional boss.
Oh wow!
So I decided, what I'm like. I decided I wasn't going to. I just decided that was the boss.
Yeah.
The path led to this boss, and I was just there fighting against it. It was called the Rotting Greatwood. It's a big horrible tree, and it was really hard. And then after I defeated it, I did have a peek online because I wanted to see if they said, my goodness me, this boss is a hard one, because I thought it really was. But it didn't really say that, but what it did say is it's an optional boss, and I was like, flipping heck. Maybe I wasn't supposed to fight it as the third boss in the game. So yeah, I've done a few more bosses since then, learning more about the combat still. It's like, even though I've played all the Souls games, I still really feel like I've never become sort of an artisan with the combat.
Mm-hmm.
So every fight really is hard for me, but I absolutely love it. And as I say, I'm thinking about it when I'm not playing it. At the moment, I'm in a position where actually I've got 3 ways to go. There's a way that I can go that's more exploration into the unknown, and then the other 2 ways. One's the Abyss Watchers boss, which is a knight, where he's beaten me twice. He seems pretty difficult. And the other way, actually, I've just explored. There's some really hard guys down there, but not bosses. And I've explored that area. It turns out that's a dead end. So it's just really, there's the boss to fight, and after a different boss that I defeated, there was another path that opened up, which has got me to Cathedral, or the Deep Cathedral, or the Cathedral of the Deep, or something like that. So I've got another option. So I've got 2 options. If I don't fancy this boss just yet, I could push further on exploring. But the thing about the game that's so amazing is it really makes me so tense. There's been plenty of points in it where the currency in the game is souls. Everything you do, if you defeat an enemy, you get souls. And with souls, you use them as currency to buy stuff. That's weapons and accessories, like, not grenades, but firebombs and things like that. Everything is bought with the souls that you pick up from the baddies. And just as a little reminder, if people haven't heard of it, if you get defeated in the game you lose your souls, and you respawn at the last bonfire that you saved your game at. Well, not really that you saved your game at, but the last bonfire that you rested at. And then you've got one chance to retrace your steps, and if you get back to where you got defeated, there's a green splat on the floor. That's your blood stain, and you can reclaim your souls. But if you die on the way, that's it, because those souls will then be replaced with whatever souls you were carrying on that run through.
Right.
If you get what I mean.
I do. Yeah.
So I'm at the point now, and it's costing me about 9,000 souls to level up, and it gets to the point where you've got enough souls to level up, and you're like, classic, I can level up. But you fought really hard and carefully through a level, and you're making headway, and you're looking into the distance, and you're thinking, right, it's been really, really difficult to get to this point where I am now. I've defeated loads of monsters. I've had some close calls. It's been an adventure. Now I can level up. Now, if I run all the way back to the bonfire and level up, when I go to the bonfire, everything's going to respawn in the world, because that always happens when you rest at the bonfire. You get all your health back, but everything respawns in the world. So I could run back, level up, but then I'll have to fight everything all over again to get back to this point, which was hard work. But if I carry on, I've got limited resources because I've spent some resources to get to this point. If I carry on, there's the temptation there could be the next bonfire ahead. But equally, if I die, it'll be that much further to come from the bonfire to reclaim the souls, and I'll have to reclaim the souls or I can't level up. I'll have to get all those souls again, and there's a chance I could die on the way to getting them. And you've always got this sort of this risk reward all the time, and it's brilliant, man. It's always about that. It's like, all right, do I level up or do I carry on? And that's it. And it's like, I've got so many souls now, I could buy this amazing weapon, I could upgrade my weapon, I could do this, that and the other, but have I got the courage to carry on, or should I run back, do that stuff, but then I will have to fight my way back to this point, and I'll probably have this decision to make again thereabouts. And you just inch your way through, and it's great, man, and it's so tense. It's like they put enemies around every corner. You never let your guard down, so every successful step forward feels rewarding, and it's beautiful. I've said it many times about these games, and it's just such a beautiful bleakness and a beautiful melancholy that surrounds you. And it's strange this time. I found Bloodborne got a bit overbearing with feeling a bit depressing, but Dark Souls 3, it sort of feels rather magical.
Right.
I don't know. It's still miserable and bleak and melancholy, but there's definitely more beauty in it, I think. I don't know whether it's the soundtrack, or the elegance of the combat, just having a shield again that you use, because you didn't really use defense in Bloodborne. But yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. I'm 24 hours in, and people will scoff probably that I should be on New Game Plus by now. But as I say, I'm not that good. I love the games, but I'm not that good. It takes me time. It takes me time. It takes me ages to learn the bosses. But I go in blind. I don't look on the internet at anything.
Right.
So yeah, Dark Souls 3. That's it. That's my life at the moment.
Wow. I must admit, because you're playing it on PC, aren't you, at the moment? You're playing yeah.
I am, so yeah.
So it's really funny.
Yeah, so I'm playing.
Because I'm not seeing you on like Xbox or PlayStation. Normally I kind of see you on one or the other in the evenings and stuff, and I'm just not seeing you anywhere. So I'm thinking, you must be playing Dark Souls whenever, because you're just not around. You're just out there on the PC mode.
That's where I am. I'm like there with my armour in the middle of a swamp, or in a gloomy castle, trying fighting the good fight to restore or rekindle the fires. That's what I'm doing, man. And yeah, it's weird because I am invisible and I don't see anybody else either. It's sort of, I'm isolated within the world of PC because I've got no Steam friends.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's quite interesting because that's how I used to feel when I was on like PlayStation 3. That you'd look over on Xbox, there'd be like so many people, and my friends list would be online, and I'd be over on PS3, and I always felt like I was kind of outside a party with my face pressed up against the I'm having a good time. But there's all those people that are online. There's something about kind of when you are gaming and other people are online doing it at the same time. I don't know what it is, but it's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice to be one of them, isn't it? What we're all doing, that we're all fighting the good fight sort of thing. Like if you were all on Dark Souls, for instance, or just knowing that you're all gaming away. But so I do feel it's strange, a bit lonely on PC. Not that I really join in multiplayer gaming that much, but it is strange not to have sort of that camaraderie of knowing that your friends list are all doing whatever they're doing, gaming at the same time as you.
Absolutely, I totally agree.
So what about you? What games have you been indulging in?
This week, it's been a bit of a strange one, actually, because after E3, I was kind of, obviously, last week when we had our mega E3 blowout, one of the games that I really enjoyed and looked amazing, and I've been reading up and watching a lot of the stuff, was Forza Horizon 3. Now, Forza Horizon 3 just looks absolutely stunning, looks beautiful. You know, I've been reading up about the HDR side of it and what that will give for Forza, but I suddenly had a bit of a Forza craving. So, and I remembered that as much as I've been playing Forza 6, I've still got lots of achievements. I've still got lots of things to do in Forza 6. So I booted up Forza 6. So obviously it's just sitting there on my hard drive. So I booted up Forza 6, and I've been playing Forza 6. Like, I played it so much over the weekend, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Oh, fantastic! Well, yeah, it's a good game, isn't it? It's a beautiful game.
Absolutely,
actually.
It was really good because one of the podcasts that I haven't really listened to previously, I've kind of dipped in and dipped out. I listened to their Game of the Year was Giant Bomb. So and kind of James is always saying that James listens to Giant Bomb. He's like, you've got to listen to it. Listen to Giant Bomb. So I thought I'd give it a whirl over E3, and they had this like 4-hour E3 special. So while I was listening to that, I was playing Forza, and the time just absolutely flew by. You know, I'm just like playing Forza, listening to this podcast that's just non-stop. You know, if you thought we talked a lot about E3 last week, you know, this one was even lengthier than the Sparks, and I just really enjoyed it. And it was one of those things where the handling clicked, because I know my brother and I, we both kind of had a bit of a grumble about the aquaplaning, about when you hit wet weather and stuff, and it's just quite hard to control. But I really kind of got into that zone. I suddenly got to that point where I'd given Forza enough time, and I really got, even with there's actually a whole series that is 6 races of all wet races, and I was loving it. I was absolutely just really enjoying it, and all of the kind of rec packs, all the cards that you can have, the mods that you can have, I was really exploring all of those and just really having a good time with Forza 6. So I was really glad that I just kind of went back and kind of continued going. And I've got a goal now that I want to get to a certain level. A lot of the time with Forza, I'm kind of controlled by the achievements. So it's like, get to level 50, get to level 100, do this. So I kind of look at those achievements and I'm going, right, that's where I want to go with Forza. So I've still got a little bit more. I actually even had a bit of a cheeky lunchtime game, which I've never done before, but I kind of finished a meeting, and I had about 45 minutes before another meeting today, and I was working from home, so I was like, you know what, I'm going to have a quick race of Forza. So that's how much like Forza's kind of really kind of got its claws into me at the moment.
Excellent. It's good, isn't it? Like, that's how I'm feeling with Dark Souls. It's like, if I've got an hour or so, it's just like, I could just have a quick go. I love when a game gets under your skin in that way.
Absolutely. It was just absolutely superb. So I was really enjoying that. So like I say, I've still got a lot more of Forza, but I'm hoping, because what normally happens with me is that I just transition out of one Forza game into the next Forza game. Then I'll stop playing Forza 6 when Forza Horizon 3 comes out. So I've still got a while, because it doesn't come out until September. But there's a lot more to be played in Forza 6, and it's absolutely gorgeous. You know, it's just a stunning looking game. I'm always playing it in car, so when it is raining, you get all the droplets just hitting the screen, and then the windscreen wipers go, and then you just see them kind of move up, because it's real torrential rain, so you see them kind of like move up the screen, and it's just little things like that. It just looks so realistic sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lovely game.
So I've been jumping into that, and I've also been jumping into Overwatch. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I know we were umming and ahhing, and I wasn't sure, and I was just like, shall I buy it? I was getting, not pressure, but other guys were going, you've got to play this, you've got to play this, you'll really enjoy it. So I jumped in. I had a whole bunch of games. I opened up my games cupboard. I had a whole bunch of games that I wasn't going to be playing, so I took them down to my local game, traded them in for Overwatch. So I was like, there you go, there's 4 games, there's 5 games, and I got Overwatch on PlayStation 4. So I've been kind of jumping into Overwatch as well. So, and Overwatch it really is good. You know, I stayed in the AI games for a while, just while I was getting used to everything, because it's slightly different mechanic. You know, there's no aiming, things like that, and so I had to just kind of get used to some of the characters. So I stayed in AI for a little while, but I've jumped into full matches now with with people. Even had a chat. I'm there, headphones on. It's a game that I really want to chat with people. So I'm just in, and I'm like, right, okay, what's happening? And a couple of people bite. A couple of people kind of going, yeah, okay, I'm doing this. I'm going to be this character. What character are you going to be? And so it's quite nice over in Overwatch land. Everyone seems to be quite nice in PS4 Overwatch.
That's good, because usually, Overwatch, it helps. It's a squad game, so it helps if people cooperate. To do that, you need to talk. Historically, apart from in the glory days, it's been a bit more difficult on console because people are just sort of self-absorbed, just want to do their own thing. So that's really good if that community spirit is in Overwatch.
Absolutely, it definitely feels like I say, there wasn't a full complement of people talking, but there was definitely a couple of people with mics on. And again, when I was listening to a podcast, one of them had an interview with the Phil Spencer. Actually, the Giant Bomb E3 interview with Phil Spencer is just amazing. Phil really opens up. They really they bring the best out of Phil. Ryan McCaffrey does a really good job, but Ryan just kind of hits him with questions where the Giant Bomb, they just seem to talk to him about stuff, let him really kind of nerd out about games, and I was really enjoying it. And it just is just absolutely superb. So I was listening to that, playing this, and then the some of the characters, it looks absolutely superb. It looks absolutely stunning, and some of the characters, I'm still kind of getting used to some characters, because there are just so many characters. There's probably 24 plus characters, and there's some characters where you jump in and you go, I don't like this. Straight away you can feel it. Or there's other characters where, this is working. This is really working. I must admit, I'm really enjoying Diva. She's a really cool character that has a mech, and that goes first, and you can eject from the mech if you start getting some damage. Soldier 76, which I think is a very kind of default character for everyone to jump into. I'm really enjoying that, and even Winston the gorilla is just superb. Like I say, it just looks stunning. And with Winston the gorilla, I was playing that because in the Flash they had Gorilla Grodd. So when I saw Winston, I was like, I'm going to get a bit of this. And even when he's running, your screen is bobbing up and down because Winston's running on his knuckles, so your screen's kind of moving, and it's just little things like that just make this game so playable and just such a joy to play.
Yeah, really polished, isn't it?
It really is. You've got your standard modes. You have control, which is two teams fighting over objectives. So you have that. I really like that. You have escort, which is an escort mission where there's a payload that's moving slowly, and you've just got to basically just hold off the defenders. I'm really enjoying that as well. And there's some really good modes in there, and there's some really good maps as well. There's one called King's Row, which is set in London, and that's just a really good map, and there's some absolutely fantastic gameplay in it. And I've had such a whale of a time between Forza 6 and Overwatch. Those two have really they've kept me entertained in that kind of dip in, dip out kind of game. But I have got a bit of a pang for a story-driven game. Well, since I've finished Doom, I've kind of got a bit of a gap where I'm trying to fill it with a bit of a story game.
Yeah. I remember we chatted about this, and you're hungry for a meaty game. And
yes.
It's a fair point, because if I wasn't playing Dark Souls at the moment, I don't know what I'd be playing. I think I'd be drumming my fingers around a little bit, going, oh, I'm bored. Obviously, there's dip in, dip out games, but what I'm saying there is exactly what you mean there. I've been looking for a meaty story to get into, and there isn't really one that tempts me.
Yes.
It's a bit of a drought, isn't there, on a game that's full of substance in that way?
Well, exactly. You did kind of say to me, what about Quantum Break? Where I completely forgot about Quantum Break. I'm only halfway through that, and I completely forgot. So, over the weekend, if I do have a moment where I am kind of want to get into a story game, I might give Quantum Break another try.
Yeah, there's always Quantum Break. I've got that as well, but I don't know what it is. I'm not even as far as you. I think I played it for half an hour.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with it. I just haven't gone back to it.
And I know they've updated. There's been quite a big update for the PC version, so hopefully that will start looking a little bit shiny.
Oh right, and running a little bit better. Oh, okay, that's interesting. Maybe it's worth just popping on just to check that out.
I mean, it's quite interesting. Later on in the show, we've actually got some feedback, and one of the questions about kind of what we're going to play next. So maybe we should park that, and we'll talk about that a bit later. Where we had a letter from a listener, or an email from a listener, a postcard. PO box. Right. So should we jump into the news section? And in this week's news section, we have the first batch of Xbox Play Anywhere titles. Cliffy B gives his opinion on Project Scorpio, and also we have the latest of the new DLC for Star Wars Battlefront. But Darren, first one, the title of this piece of news really interests me. So Darren, the first one is with you, sir.
So we've already, or I've already spoken about Dark Souls 3, the most beautiful Dark Souls you're going to see, and the best as far as I can see so far from what I've played. Absolutely fantastic game, beautiful game, and the title of this is Dark Souls with dance pads. So there's a guy that I only found out about this week called Rudism, and he plays games wrong, and his latest quest is Dark Souls 3. And so he plays them wrong by, at first he started playing games with a guitar controller. Right. So I think it all started, his mate said, why don't you have a go on Rocket League with a guitar controller?
What?
Which he did. And I think he was about to abandon it, and then he scored. And he was like, hey, I can do this. So since then it's sort of evolved. And he just plays games with all different peripherals and stuff. So he's decided to play Dark Souls 3 with... with a dance pad, so feet only. And the annoying thing is, I think he's better than me.
Wow.
So yeah, he's just playing this game, and there's footage there. I'll link to his YouTube page because there's more than just the Dark Souls videos out there. But there's uploads of him fighting bosses in Dark Souls 3. There's no difficulty in Dark Souls 3. They are what they are, and they're hard. Right? You can't put it on easy. Or medium or hard. They are just there, and if you can't beat them, you can't beat them. And this guy is he's giving it 90 with his feet, like Lord of the Dance, defeating these bosses in Dark Souls, and it's a joy to watch. So I just thought I'd bring that up because it's funny, and it takes a lot of skill as well.
I bet it does. Wow, that's incredible. So is he like kind of Michael Flatleying it across the dance pad?
Yeah, he's like he's overlaying it with the theme. He's got that in the background so that it's quick enough. No, he isn't actually. He just seems very sort of sure of himself, and I just don't understand how he does it. I don't think there's any way that I could project my control method from my hands to my feet and be able to do that. It's just quite amazing. He also plays Doom on guitar as well.
The latest so Doom?
He's playing the latest Doom on a guitar controller.
Oh wow, I've got to check this out.
CSGO. He does an aerial on Rocket League with guitar controller.
Wow.
So yeah, it
sounds like he's better than me at Rocket League with a guitar controller. That's really depressing.
This is the thing. He got up to level 100 on World of Warcraft using dance pads.
Oh my god, he must be knackered after every gaming session.
I tell you what, it must be good for him.
Yeah, it must be, really.
Maybe that's a new thing. It's like for every hour you play with, sat down like a lazy person with the pad in your hand, you've got to get up and do an hour on the dance pad.
Wow.
But you don't have to play a dance game. Just go and play Portal or whatever.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, he's not stuck for a game. He's just, he just does any game but with a dance mat. That's just so cool.
Yeah, so if you want to have a look, I'll stick a link on the page.
That's just so good. That is so good. Excellent stuff. Right, next piece of news is with me, and this is Microsoft have named the first batch of the Play Anywhere titles. So during that E3 conference, they announced Xbox Play Anywhere, and this is where you can buy a game on either PC or on the Xbox, and then you can then play it on either console with your saves going up to the cloud, so you can start playing on your Xbox, and then you can then leave the TV, go to your PC or laptop, and then pick up and start playing that game from where you left off. And obviously this was a kind of it didn't get an applause as big as backwards compatibility, but it definitely was Microsoft's kind of backwards compatibility moment in this year's E3, outside of obviously Project Scorpio. But what they have done during kind of some interviews with Phil Spencer and etc. after E3, kind of over the course of E3, they've named some of their first party titles that are going to be included. So this is quite a good one for you, Daz, because you'll be able to buy it on your Xbox and then play it also on your PC if you wish. So the titles are, and I'll just quickly run through these titles. So they're, like I say, they're all kind of first-party releases, but the titles that are going to be involved in the Play Anywhere will be Forza Horizon 3, Gears of War 4, Halo Wars 2, Recore, Scalebound, the Fantastic Sea of Thieves, State of Decay 2, and We Happy Few are some of the first games. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I did say 12. We've got some more. There is some more as well. But this site seems to just stop at 8 instead of...
There's more to come, listeners. There's more to come.
There's more to come.
Plenty more fun and excitement.
They also said that Killer Instinct, Ark Survival Evolved will also... Cuphead, I'm filling in blanks now. Cuphead and also Clackdoon 3 will also, I can't stop that, will also be cross-platform.
Okay, that's fantastic, right? So my question is, what do you think about this? Is like, for me and other people that have got an Xbox and a PC and say their PC is better spec than their Xbox, is there any point keeping hold of your Xbox apart from for your back catalogue?
Well, absolutely. I think, yeah, there definitely is, because it is your back catalogue. I think all of the first-party titles are going to be coming out. Obviously, there's still arcade titles, like we've got the fantastic Inside comes out in a couple of weeks' time. That's not going to be Play Anywhere. I don't believe it's on PC. I think it's Xbox exclusive for a while. So you're definitely still going to have those small titles. You've already made, especially for you, you've already made that investment. So I would say absolutely keep that Xbox under the TV.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to get rid of it or anything, but it just made me think. Going forward, I would probably get the games on PC, though I have the option to play them on both. But I would never play them on the inferior hardware. There just doesn't seem any point in that. I mean, if you had the PC, if you couldn't plug the PC into the lounge for some reason, then that would be understandable. But I can. So it just got me thinking that, they may stop shifting as many Xboxes because people may just get a PC. It may come to it that people start getting a PC instead. But it doesn't really matter, because when people brought this up with Phil, he basically said, really, it's not about, we're not looking to push consoles, which is a great reply considering they're losing their hardware sales against Sony. But he said that their view is basically it's not about pushing the hardware, it's not about units of consoles, it's just about pushing the games. And so to them, the strategy of making the games playable on either system and making everything universal is ideal, because it's more games sold.
Yeah.
Because they're basically opening up not just the Xbox pool, they're opening up that pool over to everybody that's got a PC as well. So that sounds like a pretty sensible strategy to me.
Absolutely, but for you have your VR room in your house. So if you wanted to, I've just jumped online. I'm saying to you, come on, let's set up a quick of Sea of Thieves. I'm online now. Instead of you dragging your PC back in and setting it all up, you could just happily just turn on your Xbox and start playing. It doesn't have to. It's going to look incredible on your Xbox. So you don't need to fire up your PC if you just want to have that kind of quick cheeky game. So you could easily do that. Rather than kind of dragging your PC through the house, setting it all up, blah, 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 you could just happily just grab your Xbox controller and just start playing.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be happy to do that unless they were pretty similar. You see, if there was a difference in frame rate, if there was a difference in resolution, I'd take the hit and I would, I'd drag the PC through, because I'd rather do that. I mean, surely they can't allow frame rates to differ. for multiplayer games, because it would the playing field wouldn't be
well,
level.
absolutely. I mean, the frame rate could potentially do that. That's down to kind of how good those boxes can run. And as Phil was saying in the Giant Bomb
but if it does differ, if frame rate does differ on multiplayer games, it's a heck of an advantage to those with 60 frames against those with 30.
Exactly. And as Phil was saying, in the Giant Bomb interview with Scorpio, there's going to be that frame rate is going to match your PC. And also, he was saying that they are giving kind of something that we were talking about last week. That you were talking about kind of the keyboard and mouse versus the controller, and he is saying that, and Gears of War is doing this, where when you're in competitive mode it keeps those players separate, but when you're just in co-op, so say for instance we're playing Horde mode, I don't matter if you're quicker, it doesn't matter if you're quicker to turn around, it's actually better because I've got a better wingman, so they're saying that when it comes to competitive, there could just be a case where you have 10 friends, you want to just have a bit of a fun, you don't care who's on mouse and keyboard, who's on that, so that could be okay. But again, it's down to the publishers or down to the developers to kind of release what they want to release, but the kind of default would be that they would kind of keep those separate. So maybe the same thing would happen with the kind of the frame rates, because if you think about it, we're going to have Xbox One S, which won't do anything for frame rate, it will just make it look nicer with HDR, but then you'll have the Xbox Scorpio maybe at the end of 2017, and that's going to be up there with your PC frame rate, maybe even better.
Probably, I'd imagine it would be better, yeah. And then you play on the Scorpio. You play on whatever you've got that's best, I imagine. But yeah, if, for instance, I had a machine like a Scorpio or even the Xbox One, and that was already set up and my other PC was in the other room, and the games had the same frame rate and it was multiplayer we were playing, then that would be fine. But yeah, I hadn't heard, we've talked about that, and I hadn't actually seen an interview where that had been mentioned, so I'm glad that he mentioned it on Giant Bomb, because it's good to, I thought, I assumed that they would have taken that into account, because it's a pretty important issue, and obviously it has been taken into account, and that's great to hear.
Absolutely. I mean, like I say, Phil was incredibly candid and very open on the Giant Bomb interview, and anyone who is interested in kind of where Xbox is going or what the Scorpio or Xbox One S is, this interview is just really good. And I'll actually link out to it as well. I'll see if I can find a link. I think they might have even done it on YouTube. It might be a video one. And if I can, I'll stick it into the show notes, because it's definitely worth a watch or a listen.
Excellent.
So we've got those. So they're all going to be our titles where they are going to be part of the Xbox Play Anywhere. Obviously, out of those titles, we have Forza Horizon, Gears of War 4, Scalebound. At the moment, those ones are also going to be HDR compatible as well. So they're the ones that are going to be kind of nice and shiny on that Xbox One S. Also worthwhile noting, again, kind of taken from that Giant Bomb interview, that the controller that comes with the Xbox One S is a Bluetooth controller, because as Phil was saying, what's been requested time and time again is for that controller to be able to play with your PC, your Mac, except more PC than Mac, but play with your PC. So they have the Xbox One S controller enables you to do that via Bluetooth, and also has a bigger range as well.
Oh, cool.
So that means I can now go to the fridge and get another beer without my still with my controller in hand and my headset attached to it. Because normally when I go to the kitchen, I then lose connection, so and it all throws a wobbly. But that's kind of so that's really good. So like I say, I'm quite excited about these Play Anywhere titles, and I don't even have a PC, but I just think it's fantastic, because if you think about it, if you had a PC and you bought these games, and then suddenly you buy an Xbox One S because maybe you want a HDR player to stream Amazon and Netflix, or as just to stream those HDR Blu-rays that are coming out thick and fast. So if you want to do that, then it's obviously this is a nice entry point, and then you do that, and then you've got a games library already, because of those games that you've been playing on your PC. So I just think this is really good. And potentially, I have been thinking about getting a PC for my office, because then I could maybe, kind of have a PC upstairs and then go downstairs to the movie room. So it's even kind of tempted me slightly. I've been looking at the room to see if it's Vive, if it's big enough for Vive.
Oh, excellent.
I could just imagine that the office could be really cool, just to kind of like deck it out with like kind of a PC and some Vive. But I'll wait to see what the VR a world is like first, I guess, with PlayStation VR.
Yeah, and you've got plenty of time to mull it over. But yeah, this is an extra argument that makes moving into the PC world a little easier, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So the next story that we've got is with myself, and that is that DLC has reached a new low. Or is it a new high? Well, let's explore it and see what you think. So, Steam has got a game, it's got many games, and this particular game is called, I'm not sure if it's Hadean Lands or Hadean Lands. It's Hadean. I quite like the way of saying Hadean, because I don't like Hadeen or Hadeen. Anyway, Hadean Lands is it's like an old school text adventure game on Steam. Okay, it's got no help, no tutorials or anything. You sort of just go in there and you get through the game. You play it by typing commands. Okay, so it's a game of alchemy and exploration with an intricate structure of interlinked puzzles. Every ritual you learn adds a new ability to your toolkit, but every ritual requires a different combination of ingredients, and some ingredients are in desperately short supply. That's the blurb of how the game works. Now, they've released a DLC for this game, and it came out this week. And this DLC is £26.99. And what it is, it unlocks the game to make it 3 times as big. No, it doesn't. It does none of that. It does nothing like that. What it is, it's a certificate that says on it that you, the player, promised to finish the game without looking at any hints and without looking at any walkthroughs. And basically not cheating.
What?
That's what the DLC is. It's presumably a PDF certificate,
right?
That you get sent, and you can print it and you can hang it on your wall. It doesn't affect the game in any way at all. It doesn't change anything in the game. It's simply a certificate that says that you're going to play. That you promised to finish the game without any help.
Honestly, if you could see the look on my face at the moment, it is a perplexed one.
So Eurogamer have reported this, and there's a little FAQ from the developer, Zarf Home Software. So they did a little FAQ on it because I think they were getting a few questions about the DLC. So this is it. Is the DLC just a certificate? Really? Yes, you get the certificate in PDF format, and what the heck, I'll throw in a JPEG as well. Does it unlock new puzzles or rooms or other game content? Nope. It's just a certificate. Where? Look in the certificate folder in the game directory. I don't need to buy your certificate. I can just make that promise for free. Absolutely, yeah, absolutely, says the developer. But it might be easier to stick to that promise once you've laid down some cash on it. Just a thought, it's up to you. You can't stop me from looking at hints anyway. Yeah, that's true. But it's between you and your game-playing conscience. What if I get really, really stuck? Well, you've got to decide that for yourself. Maybe you could work on the puzzle with a friend. Can I look at the game map? Yes, that's okay. It doesn't spoil the puzzles. What about the in-game tutorial? The tutorial only covers the first puzzle in the first room. You get a pass on that. If you really want to skip it, use the tutorial off command to silence it. You can't be serious about this. I assure you I've never been more serious in my life. So there you go, £26.99 for this game, and it gets you a certificate that you can sign that says you promised to finish the game without any help. £26.99. There's been a bit of rage on it, but there's been quite a few people thinking it's genius. Because the guy's being upfront, he's very upfront about it. It doesn't make any difference if you get it or not. He's not bothered, he's just put it out there. And it's like, buy it if you want it or not. There's also, I think you can download a free one with a watermark if you want. So if you want, you can just get it for free with sample watermarks across it and sign it that way. But it's not the real thing, you see, is it? It's not the real thing.
No, not at all.
So
that's just the most bonkers thing I've ever heard.
It shows what you can do with DLC, can't you? So some people are saying he's a genius. One of the reviews on Steam, making people pay for promise certificates, genius. And then the developer said, thanks, I was hoping people would be amused. And I hope some people would put down money for it, of course. But that's not a requirement. So he's quite upfront about it. He's like, no, you don't have to have it. It's just a bit of fun. But yeah, he's just he's just putting it out there. Some other guy said he thinks it's cute. And and he can see the try-hard leet getting one that says, I beat Dark Souls in an hour, sort of people, maybe queuing up to buy it. And maybe there'll be other certificates that you could download. But it'd be quite interesting if you could get certificates, not for £26.99, but if the only way they could be triggered, especially because they're sort of locked into your account with Steam, is when you've completed the game. I mean, I suppose they go on eBay and stuff like that, but, more fool whoever buys them. But if you complete a game, like platinum a game or something like that, that it unlocks a little certificate that you could print out and hang on your wall and frame. It'd be quite cool.
That'd be hilarious. Like, every time you get an achievement, you can get a certificate of that achievement.
You could have, like, this Hall of Fame, a wall of fame.
That'd be so funny. Like the Seriously 2.0 in Gears 2 or something like that. They're the kind of achievements that are to be proud of. So maybe those could just, like I say, you get that achievement and then suddenly your printer starts going at home and it prints it out for you.
You could think of challenges which are normal. You could bring out a season pass and basically it's just more certificates saying, I managed to do the game with one arm tied behind my back or something like that.
I bought horse armour.
Yeah, and that's it. $26.99. Cheers.
Wow, that's just hilarious.
There you go.
So, were you tempted?
Not in the slightest.
You don't buy DLC, do you?
No, but if it was, I don't think I ever would. But I kind of can get on board with it because it's got so much front. It's not afraid to be what it is. It's not trying to slide under the radar as something that might make the game better and charge for it. It's just like, if you want this, it's $26.99 and you can have it if you want, but it makes no difference. It's just sort of have it if you want it. And I kind of admire it in a way. So it's kind of the worst, but it's kind of pretty cool as well.
That is just absolutely hilarious. Superb. Excellent. I love it. So I guess that's just so cool. I wonder how many people have actually bought that DLC.
I'm going to love to find out. I hope we'll have to keep an eye on it and see if it makes the guy quite a bit of cash, because that would be hilarious. And good on him.
Yes, indeed. I bet the first moment that the one of those pieces of DLC was bought, I bet he was like, "Oh my god, someone's actually going to buy it."
Yeah, he's like, "Look, I can't believe it. I only put it there for a joke." I mean, imagine like you love Batman and you played that, loads and loads and loads and loads. You really enjoyed it, and if a certificate came out like this that you could only get by buying, and it said, me, Anthony, I have completed Batman to the best of my ability, and it was really fancy, but you could only get it by buying it. Would you be tempted? Would you be tempted? And it had nice artwork and stuff.
Well, like Jim Lee artwork or something like that.
It's kind of a bit exclusive.
See, I should get one of these for saying I bought the Batman DLC without knowing what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, they should do a DLC certificate that says, I promised never to buy any DLC.
Yes, I promise not to buy DLC not to buy a season pass until I know exactly what it is.
Yeah, who knows where it'll end.
Superb. That is just absolutely bonkers. And then from one I still can't get over that. From one bonkers news item to another one. I saw this on Saturday. I saw a tweet from Sean Murray of No Man's Sky Hello Games fans saying, basically, the tweet was saying, "Yay, we finally settled with Sky." And in brackets, they own the word Sky. We can now call our game No Man's Sky. 3 years of a secret, stupid, legal nonsense is over. And so what transpires is that No Man's Sky, which is obviously that hotly anticipated adventure game that we're going to get in a couple of months' time, could have potentially had a last-minute name change, because Sky, who in the UK is a pay TV broadcaster, a satellite broadcaster, actually owns the right to the word Sky. So, and Hello Games, and I'm guessing Sony as well, have been in a legal battle for 3 years over the use of the word Sky.
My goodness me.
It's just absolutely bonkers. And basically, this has been plaguing Hello Games for 3 years. And this isn't actually the first time that someone has taken on Sky, because Microsoft took Sky to court in 2013 over SkyDrive, which was their name. So, the court actually ruled in Sky's favour. So, and then Microsoft changed it from SkyDrive to OneDrive.
My goodness me, that's amazing. can't believe it.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
But so thankfully, something's happened, some kind of behind the scenes, maybe a cut of the game, who knows? And there's a favourable outcome, and it can now be called No Man's Sky.
Well, thank goodness for that.
I know. You imagine just right at the end, it just suddenly gets a name change, or we get a name change in the UK to something completely No Man's Galaxy or something. It gets changed, but then maybe the people who make Galaxy Chocolate would then not like that.
Flipping that. Didn't King, the makers of Candy Crush, try and say that they owned the word candy or something like that at one point? Do you remember that?
No, absolutely. There was definitely something else, wasn't there? There was another kind of one of these stupid legal battles where they were saying that someone owned that word, and there was also one that was an esports as well that they said they owned, and like a kind of co-op or multiplayer or something like that as well. There's just some absolutely stupid. But for Sky to say that they own, like anyone's going to see the game No Man's Sky and think that's got something to do with Rupert Murdoch and Sky, it's just bizarre, absolutely bizarre. But yeah, so it's been going on in this behind the scenes. We haven't, nothing's ever been mentioned of it previously, but for 3 years, this kind of court battle has been going on.
I wonder if it caused the delay.
Who knows? What? Maybe they couldn't assess it. Maybe they were still trying to assess it. But then surely they would have just, changed it like a BioShock or not BioShock, Resident Evil and Biohazard. Maybe it would be something like that, where we would have No Man's wormhole.
No Man's Horizon. Yeah.
No, there you go. See, you're better at it than I am. So I just thought I'd mention that because I just saw that tweet and I was just like, wow, incredible what goes on behind the scenes.
It is. I didn't know that. That's really interesting. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It's not good press for Sky, though, surely. I mean, it just seems really petty.
It really does, doesn't it? The fact that they, maybe it was after that big reveal when Sean Murray's like, this is my game, it's No Man's Sky. You can imagine someone's like, you're not using the word Sky.
Or Sky's got to be written in the Sky logo.
Yes. Someone actually, it was quite funny actually, because once this tweet went live, there was actually someone who did that. So it was like No Man's, and then there was the ginormous Sky logo kind of next to it. And it really did make me chuckle.
Yeah, they might have been happy with that. And little extras in the game and links everywhere to sort of adverts for Sky and stuff. Oh my goodness me.
Absolutely. You dock at your docking station and there's an advert for Sky Atlantic.
Yeah, and all the planets are default named like Sky Atlantic or Sky HD and things like that.
Yeah, Sky One.
Sky One. That's every spaceship. The starting ship's called Sky One.
That's what the center. Spoiler alert. That's what's at the center of the universe in the game. It's a Sky Q box.
Yeah. It's like Peter Molyneux's Cube, but this is a Q box.
Yeah. So that's in the middle, and it needs to be rebooted because it's crashed.
Oh dear. Sky, damn you, Sky!
Damn you! So there you go. So really interesting, but they've settled it. So now we just wait in July and August. We've only got about 2 months to go. What's it? It's the 22nd of June as we record this, so we've only got a couple of months to go.
Wow. Oh man, it feels like we started our podcast journey with No Man's Sky.
Yes.
Sort of firmly in our imaginations. So we talked about it from the off, and it'll feel like a journey's end when that comes out.
It really will. It's going to feel amazing when that game comes out.
It really will. Yeah, so we've also got news. It's a bit of a video clip, which I'll put a link to on the page. And it's a Reggie Fils-Aimé. I can't say his surname very well, but I think it's not Fils-Aimé, but that's as near as I can get, from Nintendo, talking to Bloomberg about Zelda and the Nintendo NX. So it's quite interesting. It's at the 32-minute mark on the video, and I'll mark that down. But basically, it's Bloomberg interviewing. They interview numerous people regarding tech during the video. But the bit that I wanted to dwell on was the bit with Nintendo. And Reggie talks about Zelda. He said that at E3, that was the only thing, as we know, that they were showing at E3. So they had a big old display with lots of consoles there. And the queue to go on Zelda was 4 hours long.
Wow.
Even though that was the only thing they had. So
wow.
That's pretty amazing. So it shows, there's a lot of interest.
It really does. It's quite funny. Like I say, a lot of the podcasts I've been listening to outside of Gamers of the Lost Spark E3 edition, but a lot of the ones I've been listening to, Zelda has come up kind of time and time again, and it just shows, doesn't it? We are all clambering after something Nintendo. It's because everyone who is obviously on these podcasts, everyone who's doing this, they've grown up with Nintendo, so everybody wants it, and it looks really good, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah, it does. It looks amazing. and we're all a bit miserable, aren't we? Because Nintendo just hasn't been up to par for a little while, so it makes us sad. But you can tell that there's that spark out there. We all want something from Nintendo that's as good as what we expect, and we're just waiting for that. And it looks like this Zelda game could well be it. So Bloomberg asked him about what he thought about Microsoft releasing the specs of the Xbox One S, and obviously the Scorpio, and the imminent PlayStation 4K, and how that may affect Nintendo's NX console, and if they were going to give any details about that. And he said basically, well, as we've already said, we're not giving any more details of the NX at E3. But what he did say, and he sort of tried to distance Nintendo from Microsoft and Sony as if they're a different entity, if you like. He said basically, and it's a great answer when this. I think this means obviously the NX isn't going to be as good as these machines, but he said it's not about specs; it's about content. I mean, it sounds almost like a playground argument. Yeah, well, it doesn't matter that yours is better than mine because it's like it's about the content anyway. But he said it's not about specs; it's about content. So he said, if Microsoft and Sony, they want to go out and sort of have this fight with the specs, he said that's up to them. We're not interested in that. We're all about the content. And I thought it was quite interesting for him to just come out and say that. He said that it's the content that will keep Nintendo going. And the quote that he said there is, he said if it's stellar content. He said, we believe in making stellar content, and that's what's going to drive Nintendo sales on the NX and the Wii U, he said. I agree. But there's not been... The thing is, that's great to say, but I haven't seen much sign of that on this current console, on the Wii U. So maybe they've got a better plan, or a plan for the NX where they're going to actually produce more games, so that the people that buy the console are going to feel a bit more love than they have. Because I think the Wii U is kind of, I think the user base probably feels quite neglected, and rightly so. There hasn't been that much support. Oh, absolutely.
I kind of, I look at my Wii U, and there are, as you said, time and time again, there's about four. I think the entire time I've had the console, I think I've only about 4 or 5 games tops, and that's just not good for. I bought more than that in the launch window for the Xbox or PlayStation 4, and that's all I have for my Wii U.
Yeah, I mean, the games are good and they're replayable. I still play Mario 3D World, still play Mario Kart. That's it, though. Play a bit of Fast Racing Neo, but that's not really what I bought a Nintendo console for. I bought it for innovation, really, and fantastically designed games, Nintendo games, and there just hasn't been many of them. They also quizzed him on VR and what Nintendo's standpoint was on VR. Reggie said that basically the way that they feel about it is that they look to embrace technologies when they're mainstream. And he doesn't feel that it's mainstream yet. So we can pretty much say that it won't be on the NX.
Right.
Defining mainstream, he said, really, when you don't have to sort of dedicate a room to it, it doesn't take loads of setting up. I mean, I don't think it takes lots of setting up on the PSVR anyway. But as far as he was concerned, Nintendo feel that VR is not mainstream yet, but when it is, they'll be there. That's what he said. So I think we can take from that contrary to our beliefs anyway, that there will be no VR on the NX, which is interesting and a little bit sad.
Yeah, no, it really is, because there was, as we reported a couple of weeks ago, that we were saying that it could have been delayed because they were going to attach VR to it, and we did have a moment where we were just enjoying the idea of Mario VR games and how amazing that could be.
Yeah, and I mean it could be. I mean, we don't know about the NX, so it could be on the NX, and when that gets released, he could say it's mainstream now, or maybe they could be working on an add-on, or maybe it's capable of having an add-on added to it at a later point. But yeah, as far as he's concerned at the moment, and especially in this interview with Bloomberg, he said that basically they wouldn't be embracing VR until it was mainstream, and that's not now. So I thought that was quite interesting as well. So, I mean, summing up, it sounds like the console, just reading between the lines, won't be as powerful as either the PS4K or the Scorpio. The rumours that we've seen say that it's sort of on a par of somewhere between the Xbox One and the PS4 anyway. That's the current the current generation of those. So it's round about the same as what we're about to step away from, which again you're kind of like, what? But if they come in on the promise of being driven by content and stellar content at that, then maybe it won't matter. Games like Splatoon, games like the new Zelda, the games that they've actually managed to bring out on the Wii U show that you don't need the cutting edge specs to have a great cutting edge game.
No.
Well, maybe cutting edge is the wrong term, but to have a great playable game, an enjoyable game, and that's what it's all about. So it probably doesn't matter. I think what we've all been missing is the content. So if they can remedy the content thing, if they can sort that out, then it could be great. If it's a cheap little console that's mobile as well, and they're bringing out games that are new and innovative, it'd be nice to see some new IPs rather than just the usual list of a new Mario game and the new Mario Kart game. We'll see what happens.
No, absolutely. I've said time and time again, I would love to just have, another Mario Kart game would be fantastic in this new engine, because the last game looked absolutely stellar, and a proper Mario game, a proper 3D Mario game akin to Mario 64, without the waggle of Galaxy and things like that, and a Animal Crossing game and a Zelda game, and I would be absolutely just happy as the first year. But as I've just said, I've only ever bought 5 games for my Wii U, so I do expect them to just continue with that, and I hope that when they do announce the NX, they say, here's the launch games, and this is almost wave 2 as well, so we get an idea of what we're buying into, because we're going to buy it day one, we know, but I'd like to think that I'm actually going to get some gameplay out of my investment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've gone on record in the past when we've been talking about the E3 conferences from Microsoft and Sony. Do you remember I was saying, just ease in the announcements of the games that are like years away? And for Microsoft and Sony, I stand by that. But actually, what you just said there just sort of just hit me. And it was like, yeah, actually, with Nintendo, I would like that. With Nintendo, give me your estimated games for the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, so that I know what I'm buying into. Yeah. Because with Microsoft and Sony, it's like, well, you steady on with all the games that are 5 years away. But we know, we've got a faith there. We sort of take it for granted that that's an ongoing factory of games coming our way. But so it's like, can you just ease off with that and just tell us what's sort of in the here and now? Because they've got loads. There's a cavalcade of games that they're parading out in front of us. But with Nintendo, after sort of being stung with the Wii U and not feeling that there is any content, I would actually embrace a sort of projection of what's coming up for the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years and beyond. Because that would give me that faith. So it's kind of weird. It's a reverse wish that I've got for Nintendo compared to Microsoft and Sony.
No, absolutely. You're spot on, because that every year, Microsoft are going to be giving you a really stellar lineup when it comes to holiday. They did it last year. They're doing it again this year. That there is a stellar. Sony had a bit of a bump last year where we didn't really have anything, but that's why I think a couple of games maybe just had a few problems. I think maybe Uncharted was supposed to be that kind of that tentpole game for that year, but Microsoft are time and time again, and you're right. I would love for Nintendo to go, here's the NX, this is what you're getting wave 1, this is what you're getting wave 2, and we're sticking to those, and then off in the future we're also thinking about this and this. Just a PowerPoint slide would just happily do me, with like kind of swim lanes for the years, and then just some logos, which I believe they've done once before as well, and I would be absolutely happy just to see that. Like I say, I'm going to buy it day one, but it would be nice to know that I'm going to get more out of this investment than just maybe 2.5 games that I've played a lot, and other games that I've gone meh.
Yeah, it is disappointing. And Nintendo have always been secretive, and it's that's okay, and it always has been okay, because I think pretty much like 8-9 times out of 10 we've all been blown away with the results. But after the sort of Wii's decline followed by the Wii U, the secrecy, I think they need to open up a little bit. The secrecy doesn't cut it anymore, because the expectation has diminished.
Absolutely, and I think the games industry has changed as well since kind of Nintendo's secret days. I mean, Microsoft have still got their secrets, but we know games are coming. Sony have still got their secrets, but they've been very open, and they were very open at the end of the E3 conference and say some of these are actually just still in development, but we know they're coming, kind of 2017 and maybe some even later than that. But that time of secrecy, I think, is over, and I think you do have to pay your cards. And any hardcore fan is going to be clambering for the NX, but then those other people, surely before you make that plump, you're going to want, because okay, they had stellar, amazing take up numbers with both games and consoles with the Wii, but I think the Wii U really has dipped, and maybe those people that bought a Wii haven't bought a Wii U, and they'll see this and maybe they'll start thinking, well, what do I get? What am I getting? I know, for instance, if the Wii U is your only console, if you haven't got an Xbox or haven't got a PlayStation, that must just be a sad state of affairs at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, we could try that, couldn't we? Imagine, would you even entertain it though, of restricting yourself to the Wii U for a week?
Like giving up the decent consoles for Lent and only playing the Wii U.
Yeah, we should. This is going to happen if we start moaning about the other consoles, like we sometimes do, especially me, I suppose. Then it's like, that's it, you're banned. Get on your Wii U for a week and then tell me what you think.
That'd be so funny. We'll have like a diary, like day 1. Yeah, this is really good. I'm playing Mario Kart. I've fired up Wind Waker. What about day 4? You're like, I want my Xbox.
I want some variety.
Just give me my Xbox. But I mean, with your Wii U, did you buy an Elite controller or a Pro controller, whatever they call them, or have you always played with that ginormous screen?
No, well, I've got the screen, but I used my Wii peripheral, so I had 2 nunchucks with Wiimotes. Right. So I've got the Wiimote and then nunchuck. I play with Wiimote and nunchuck. I love that. I really love that setup. Love that configuration. And I've got a Pro pad as well, the Wii one, which works. I mean, that's one thing I'll give them. The backwards compatibility of the peripherals is fantastic. So with that array, with the obviously the Wii U controller, 2 Wiimotes, 2 sets of nunchucks, and a Pro, the first Pro, I'm happy. Yeah, I got the Pro with Monster Hunter 3.
Right.
I think I got that with. But yeah, I'm happy. So I've got something for any game. But the trouble is, when somebody's asking me what the buttons are on a multiplayer game, because we're all playing on different stuff, it just blows my mind.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what your buttons are. I know the buttons that I've got with my nunchuck and my Wiimote, and that's all I know.
Yes.
I don't know what it is on the Wiimote alone. I don't know what it is on the Pro controller, and I don't know what it is on the Wii U remote. I haven't got a clue. Ask Sam.
I mean, it's really interesting because when Mario Kart came out, Nicola said to me, she goes like, she knew it was coming out. She's a big Mario Kart fan, and she was like, we need to have proper controllers for when this game comes out. She wasn't prepared to play it on anything but something that resembled a quote unquote proper controller. So she wasn't prepared to play on like kind of nunchucks or anything like that. She wanted that, so I bought a couple of Pro controllers for the Wii U, and it was good laugh. It was a really good time with that game.
I liked the wheel as well.
Oh right, yeah, it was. I think I bought that as well because I was always with Twilight. Is it Twilight Princess, the Zelda game? I got really fed up with waggling, and I think I played that. Yeah. So I don't know if I could play all of that, or it was Mario Galaxy that I played with. I played with a Pro controller, but there were times when you had to then pick up the Wiimote as well and do some waggling with that.
Oh right, yeah. I really loved the Mario Kart wheel. I thought it worked really well, but they were really scarce at first. So yeah, I got involved with all the different ways of controlling it. But my favourite one over a normal controller actually ended up being the nunchuck and the Wiimote, and I think the reason was I could play it with my hands sort of by my sides,
right?
On my legs instead of being in the middle of my legs. I could sort of be in a more rested position, but I was still playing the game because of the wire. So I was sort of more relaxed, which I quite like. I'd have the nunchuck resting sort of just off my left leg, and the Wiimote thing just resting off my right leg.
So you were uber chilled.
I was just sitting there going, yeah, and I liked that. I thought it was really good. Reminded me a little bit of the old twisty pad on PlayStation 1 that my mate used to play Wipeout with, and he beat me with it as well. Yeah.
What, he beat you with the joypad or beat you in the game?
Well, he may as well have beat me with the joypad. He beat me only in the game, but it felt the same.
Superb. So yeah, so that's so you're going to stick a link to that Reggie interview in the show notes.
I certainly am, and I'll just pop next to it, that it's at the 32-minute mark as well.
Awesome. Right, the next piece of news is with me, and that's about Star Wars Battlefront. So Star Wars Battlefront has got a new piece of DLC. If you're a season pass holder on the Xbox, you will have this right now, because the Bespin DLC is out. And like I say, it is available for Season Pass. It comes out, I think, later on in the week for people. You will be able to buy it separately for about £12 in the UK. But if you've got the Season Pass, then it's already activated and ready for you. Again, all of this is coming first on Xbox. So PS4 and PC just have to wait just a little bit longer. But the Bespin DLC, which anyone who obviously knows you, big Star Wars fan, if you know your lore, Bespin is the Cloud City that was run by Lando Calrissian in Empire Strikes Back. Best movie of all time. And so this has now come out. So the Bespin DLC, what does it offer? Well, it gives you 5 new maps, all set around or on the Cloud City of Bespin, so which is really cool. There's some new weapons, so there's a new sniper, there's a new EE4 weapon, there's also some new star cards, but in this you get 2 new heroes are available. So we get Lando Calrissian, of course, and we also get Dengar. Now Dengar was one of the bounty hunters that you saw in Empire Strikes Back. He was the one which had a big kind of cloth, big tissue all over his head. I'm sure that's a really good description of Dengar, but he was there. So you have Dengar and Lando Calrissian are available as part of this DLC. There is also all of these DLCs also give you some new content and also some new game modes, and we have Sabotage is a new game mode for this DLC, which is fantastic. So, and that is the description for that is the Empire using Tabana gas generators to power their tractor beams, preventing rebel transports from escaping Cloud City. The rebels must blow up the generators and defend their extraction points. The Empire must stop the rebels and hunt them down. So as well as that, the Cloud Car, that little twin bubble Cloud Car that shot at the Millennium Falcon, is also available as a vehicle. And we have some new content for all players. We have the increased rank cap has gone from 60 to 70. There is a new look for the rebels. The Bespin Wingguard is now available, and also there's a new unlock for the Empire, which is a new shock trooper. And then there is just a whole load of tweaks that they have also done to the game. I'll put a link to the Eurogamer article that actually does, if anyone wants to go through all of the changes and updates that they've done to all of the games. But it looks like they continue to just really kind of tweak this game and just really make this game as best it can be.
Yeah, big old patch that, isn't it?
It really is. The patch notes are ginormous. I could spend like an hour just kind of reading through all these. But I had a glance through, and like I say, all of the ones that I've read out are kind of the real big ones, and then all the new stuff that's coming as a DLC. I'm quite tempted, Darren. I'm quite tempted. This is the one I've been waiting for. This is the one I've been waiting for to kind of jump into the season pass. My problem, as I always have, is what platform do I buy the season pass on? The other problem is there's not a lot of people playing it now. When I go on, I very rarely have someone else kind of playing it. I've been trying to get my brothers to join up on Xbox. You and I keep saying that we're going to play it, but we never do.
Yeah, we sort of never do. But I really mean to.
Yeah, I know. We were saying we should just get some beers and we should just play it and just kind of and just have a razz on it. But yeah, so I'm very tempted. Because obviously we've got this one, we've had one. This is the second one. There's a third one that's been announced as well, and then there is another one that hasn't been named or announced yet. I kind of have the inkling that it might be something to do with Rogue One, because Rogue One is kind of set before A New Hope, so it's kind of roughly around this time. So a lot of the characters are all kind of dressed the same. They're from that, obviously from the same timeline. And judging by the Entertainment Weekly cover that was announced today, Darth Vader is also in Rogue One, so you could easily kind of put Darth Vader in that whole kind of Rogue One themed level. So that's what I'm hoping for.
Oh, that would be cool, wouldn't it?
It really would. So I can't wait to see Darth Vader back on screen again. I mean, obviously, we had that whole Hayden Christian thing with the no, but I just discount that. I just do not even think about that moment where Darth Vader kind of wobbles off of that gurney. But hopefully we're going to get badass Darth Vader in Rogue One.
Yeah, I'm with you. There is Darth Vader's just a completely different character.
Oh, it's horrible. That
they're not the same.
No, I always whenever that's on, because like Sky had a thing where they had Sky movies, Star Wars, and you kind of flicking through and it gets towards the end of that movie, you're like, I've just got to sit here and I'll just chuckle. I'll chuckle at that bit every time. And my wife sometimes kind of just laughs at me because I walk around the house and I'm like, no. So some new stuff. If you're a DLC, like I said, if you're a season pass, it's already there. Fire up Star Wars. If you're on Xbox, you'll get an update. PC and PlayStation coming soon.
Cool. Well, they do keep adding to it, as promised.
If only it was free. Yeah. If only it was free. That would just be lovely.
It would. We'll see the lessons they've learned with the next iteration of it.
Indeed. So the last piece of news, sir, regular news, sir, is with you.
Yeah, so this is the story of Cliffy B giving his opinions on Scorpio. Kotaku caught up with him at E3 and had a chat with him. And, he's quite outspoken. He's Cliff Belinsky, isn't he? So I thought I'd just share it with you and the listeners of what he had to say. So, what did he have to say on the multiple console strategy? Well, he asks, is Microsoft going full Sega 32X and Mega CD? I think it's quite funny. I think it's weird. The way the branding's going, it feels like the way Mercedes name their cars in the United States. The S-Class, the SOK, the SK. Which one is it? It's swearing there, but I've just took that out.
You have to edit it for Cliff. He's a bit of a potty mouth, isn't he?
Yeah, which one is this? Consumers only have enough time and attention for that. It's like, dude, are you trying to turn the Xbox into a PC? What's going on right now? So that's his knee-jerk reaction, or maybe fully thought-out reaction to the multiple console strategy. I mean, we all know what happened to Sega with the Mega CD. It's I think that comparison's a bit harsh, but that's what he thinks. What does Cliffy B think about Scorpio? Well, it feels like an apology move for them not making the console as powerful as it should have been, in favour of making sure the Kinect was boxed in with it. So now they have to play catch-up. In a way, you can trace this all the way back to their well-intended E3 from a few years ago, where they were trying to go fully digital, etc., and the internet backlash made them backpedal. I can get behind that opinion, personally. I think I share that opinion with him. I've said it a few times on the podcast that I believe I think it started with the PS4K, but I truly think that the reason we're getting these sort of higher spec consoles so early through the life cycle of these consoles is basically because they were released a bit too early and they were underpowered, and it's kind of an admission that they are. So I'm with Cliffy on that one. What about you?
I am indeed, totally.
Yeah, I'm standing with him. There's us three against the world. What does he say about being VR ready? So he says, the thing about setting up VR is it's a bit of a pain in the butt. I'm from the generation where your parents got the VCR plugged in and the clock was blinking 12 forever. Getting any home electronics installed shouldn't be a lot of work, so it's another one of those things that is almost making it like a PC or going full circle. I think he's right saying that VR stuff shouldn't be a pain. Well, console peripherals certainly should not be a pain, should they?
No, absolutely. That's one of the reasons why people buy consoles, so that it's almost a plug and play environment.
Yeah, that's right. What did he think about Scorpion enhanced games? So he says, when you do that, you genuinely tend to see games that don't fully shine on the high end, like we saw with the past console generation. Publishers were hedging their bets with the chicken and egg thing. They were putting the games on PlayStation 3 and 4 or Xbox 360 and Xbox One, and basically you get higher resolution textures, but it's a masked texture instead of being dynamically generated. So they're kind of hobbling themselves in regards to that scalability. It's like trying to have your cake and eat it too. So that paints an interesting picture, and you can see that, can't you? When they do an HD remaster from an older console, and you can it does look better, but you can still see it's kind of a bit foggy, the detail on the texture.
Absolutely, and I do echo kind of what he's saying, because maybe not in the next couple of years, but soon. Publishers they're going to just look at Scorpio. Scorpio's going to be the only one that they want to then develop on, because they want the game to look as good as it can get. The PlayStation 4K, even though PlayStation is saying it's got to run on everything, you're then going to get maybe a choppy, clunkier version running on the base consoles. So it is a big worry. It really is.
Yeah. I mean, rightly or wrongly, and it is kind of wrong, I think, to make people have to upgrade so early when, they say a life cycle's so long. But anyway, forget about that. If it's happening, then, which it is happening, I'm with you there. You kind of, I'd rather play all new shiny developed just for Scorpio than seeing things that are being held back because they've got to run on the previous consoles. And people were going mad about this on PS4, earlier in this current generation, when things were being held back because they were bringing things out on 360 and PlayStation 3 as well as the PS4.
Absolutely. I mean, that's,
and you can see the quality, can't you? It's not quite there.
You can indeed, but that's no different to the PC space, is it? Like you're okay because you're riding high at the top of the specs of PC gaming, but there could be someone who maybe hasn't got their just as good as graphic card, and they fire up Dark Souls 3 and they can't run it on Ultra, so they have to take it down to the next one, and that's no different to what we're going to get. But I guess the other side of the argument is that shouldn't happen on consoles, because we're not used to that happening on consoles. So it should just be, you've always bought your console, as you've always said, you've always bought your console for 8 years of gaming, and everybody looks the same, and games are made for that console to be the best that it can be.
Yeah, and then the argument that you gave so well is that, maybe it's time to change.
It's a new world, my friend. It's a new world.
It can't all be held back. So we'll see what happens. It does seem like a Trojan horse to get to that, though, doesn't it? They put them out there and they say no one gets left behind. Put them out there, and then they'll know that everybody's just going to want all the new shiny. And then they'll say, all right, what E3? They'll say, all right, we've heard you. We're now, due to popular demand, we are going to develop specifically for Scorpio and unleash the power. And the crowd goes wild because most people that want one have got one by then, and it's all forgotten. Do you know what I mean? But they just shoehorn it in now. But It's 18 months away. What does he say about the potential effects on multiplayer? Well, he says this: if you make a game and it's on the cheaper console and it's 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second, we were talking about this before, and 60 frames per second on the other console, that could affect the performance in a Twitch shooter, for example. Yeah, I agree. It's the same thing with cross-play for action games, which I don't understand the desire for. I can understand with co-op games, like you said before, Anthony, but if you have a shooter and one player has a controller and another player has a keyboard and mouse, and the controller person is at 30 frames per second and the mouse and keyboard is at 60, most of the time the keyboard person is going to completely dominate, so good luck with your matchmaking. Well, absolutely, we've covered this, and you've already said that Phil's covered this off as well, so we know where we are with this, don't we?
Absolutely. Phil, it's already on the mindset of Xbox, and I'm guessing PlayStation as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and it sounds like it's an obvious one that would need to be covered, because you're just going to open the floodgates otherwise, and it sounds like what needs to be done is being done if it hasn't been done already. And on keeping it real, I don't really know what that means, but Cliffy says, look, I've got a lot of friends over there, so I wouldn't criticise them unless I was pretty positive about it. If Phil Spencer was here right now, I'd tell him he backpedaled to his face, and he'd say, you're a bad person, but you're right. So there you go, that's what Cliffy B thinks. So some points we agree with, some points we don't agree with. Yeah, at least he speaks his mind, doesn't he?
He does indeed, and I think that's kind of one of the things with Cliffy, now that he's kind of come away from Microsoft, now that he's no longer, he's not getting paid, but he probably still is getting residual checks from Microsoft, but he's very, now that he is independent, he is very kind of open. A couple of interviews, again, he was on the Giant Bomb as well, a couple of interviews that I've heard recently, he has been very open when touting his new game.
I think he's a good front man. I think he had good charisma. He became the face of Gears, and he still is for me very much.
Oh, absolutely. Cliff was one of the ones that was championing the chainsaw gun and things like that. So he really did kind of make a difference. It's quite interesting because someone on one of the interviews I was listening to, someone asked him what he thought of the new gears, and he just said, "I have some notes. So if Rod Ferguson, obviously who's the lead at Coalition, he said, if Rod's listening, I have some notes I would happily share with you."
Wow. He does have, he's got good presence. He's a good guy. You'd want him on your team. I think I certainly would if I was making a game. Because I think he can get it launched out there into the sight of a lot of people.
Absolutely, I think obviously Cliffy. I think he's probably a bit Marmite with some people, and he does kind of sometimes can tread the line between kind of dude and douche. There's a very thin line that he treads sometimes, but a majority of the things, even if you can kind of get around that kind of douchebaggery that he has, you can kind of he really agree with what he's saying.
Yeah,
and he does
absolutely.
He does speak. He's quite sensible sometimes.
Yeah. He says the odd good. In between the douches, there's a few shots of wisdom.
There's a diamond in there.
Yeah.
And on that note, that's it for our regular news. So it's now time to head over to the VR news desk for all the latest in VR.
VR desk.
Yeah, hello. Here we are in the VR desk. So what we've got for you today? An amazing 6 stories.
Wow!
But some of them are only quick.
Okay.
So what have we got? You sounded like I'd let you down then. Like,
No. I was like, wow, because like the last couple of weeks we've had kind of maybe some thin on the ground news section in the VR. We've only had like a couple of news items. So it's quite nice to see it packed again.
Yeah, it's probably my fault. I don't know. Sometimes I think, I can't. There's too much to get through, or it's like we've already blathered on for nearly 3 hours, and it's like, quick, get through the VR.
Never. It's my favourite section. Hit me. Right, what have we got this week? In one. I'm like Jimbo
in one. In one. VR helping in health once again. So we've covered a few stories of VR helping in health. People being able to watch 360 videos of operations and things, and all sorts of other things. But this one's about helping people who've had a stroke. So there's a South Australian company called AdLife Technologies, and they've revealed a program that's going to help people who are recuperating from strokes by making the usually boring exercises that you have to do to sort of recuperate and get yourself back into society, get yourself back into doing normal things, by making them more interesting by doing these exercises within a VR experience. So they say it's primarily for people who've suffered strokes, helps them to increase their independence. This is from the managing director of the company, Dr. Tony Aitchison. What we found in research is that people obtain their maximum independence 25 weeks after they've suffered a stroke, but then they can start to decline because they aren't able to continue with the rehab at home, or they stop going to a clinic. And some people get bored and tired of the monotonous exercise, like opening and closing drawers and things like that. You can imagine that probably is a bit boring. That's a traditional method of getting people to recuperate. So they developed a VR program that does the same sort of exercises but in a fun and exciting way.
Oh, wow.
So this could hopefully just take away the boredom and sort of instill interest in these poor guys that are getting over a harrowing experience, and get them better in a way that, get them interested in that path to recovery, because they're going to be in a mess. They're going to, probably the last thing they want to do is some monotonous repetitive tasks when they're trying to recuperate. But adding VR to the mix, it sounds like that's a way of helping. So it's really good.
That's so cool. That's absolutely fantastic. Yeah,
the WHO says more than 15 million people suffer a stroke every year, and about 5 million people die as a result. This is a bit down. And another 5 million are left disabled permanently. But this could help people recuperate quicker. It could also save them a bit of money on going to clinics and things like that. What they're going to provide at a discounted cost of 24,000 Australian dollars, and I don't know how that converts to UK. You get an Oculus Rift, a computer that's compatible, obviously, and the software that they're presumably their proprietary software, and access to an online tracking system that will measure your progress. And the company says, that is quite a bit of cash, but patients won't have to do this trail into a clinic to continue their recovery.
Yeah.
So they'll save money with that as well. So there's pre-orders are available now on their website. and it's going to come out in September. So I wish them luck, and I hope that this is something that really adds a benefit, a tangible benefit, and really helps people that are recuperating from, one of the worst things that can happen in your life.
That's absolutely fantastic. That's so cool.
Yeah. I'll stick a link to that as well on the page, so you can have a look at Add Life Tech if you think it's something that you're interested in. So yeah, that's about more VR helping in the health world. The next piece of news is about positional tracking in VR becoming more accessible soon. And it's kind of interesting that, because really the thing that makes Vive a cut above the rest is the fact that it can be tracked, because that is what gives you the presence in the world. The game knows where you are in the world, so it makes it so much more immersive. Now, these guys at Stereo Labs, which is a San Francisco-based company, they specialise in depth and motion sensing solutions. They've launched a new camera. It's called a Z camera, and it's for mobile headsets. Now, what this does is allows games to track where you are. It tracks your position and orientation in space. So usually what happens is that there's sensors on, like with Vive, you have the 2 lighthouse sensors.
Yep.
So, and like with Oculus, there's a camera for that more scaled back positioning, and PSVR is going to use the PlayStation Eye or the PlayStation camera to do that. So there's always like an extra thing that measures where you are in the area, in the environment. But now with this headset mounted Z camera, that will track the user's positioning or where you are.
Oh wow!
So it looks like, if this can be made at a good cost, or as time goes by it gets smaller and it gets cheaper, this technology could be integrated into all HMDs, and then you wouldn't need these external sensors, which is going to save setup, save hassle. It'd mean you wouldn't need to have a room dedicated to it so much, because you wouldn't have to be in the room with the sensors.
No.
It'd just be wherever you are. It would just track where you are, which I think is quite a step forward. So the company says, Cecile Schmolgruber, who's the CEO of Stereo Labs, says positional tracking is the difference between looking at a virtual world and living in it. And I think that's correct. Now every developer has access to it. The next wave of VR headsets is going to be way better than the current generation, because of this technology.
That's absolutely fantastic. This is what we've been talking about kind of a while. This is kind of what your Gen 2 HTC Vive is going to include, isn't it? Things like this. This is the incremental version that will make you go out and maybe just buy another headset. So maybe it might just be that you all you need to do is just buy another HMD, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So this could be really interesting, and the way that this technology advances, either in this iteration or another one, is certainly going to be part of the future of VR if it's going to take off as a sort of a permanent aid to our lives.
Yeah, that's just so cool. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that's good. So I look forward to seeing that. So you could get your Gear VR headset. It's like, I don't know, £100 or something. Pop one of these on. I'm not sure exactly how it works yet, but let's just say you pop one of these on, which is going to be a bit of a cost on top. But then you get tracked without any external sensors. If that's how, it's quite exciting, quite very interesting. So yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing, and it's a very good thing too. The next thing we've got on the list is Final Fantasy 15 on PSVR.
Right.
Saw a bit of a sizzle reel, didn't we, at E3? It didn't seem that overwhelming to me. I was a bit underwhelmed by Final Fantasy 15 as it was, and the VR bit didn't really get me any more excited about it. But VR Focus have had a go on it, on PSVR, on the Final Fantasy 15 VR experience, and they've revealed exactly what it is. And hopefully people will be prepared to be a little bit disappointed, or just people hopefully aren't prepared for it to be like that you can play the whole game in VR, because it certainly isn't that. So disappointingly enough, it's not something that could work in the whole game. What it is, it's the Final Fantasy 15 VR experience, and what they say it is essentially a light gun style video game within VR. So an on-rail shooter, I suppose. You use the PlayStation Move controllers, and you just got to target various points on the massive enemies in order to take them out. And they say that essentially is the full limit of what that is. That's it.
Right.
So more of a little extra.
Yes, so it's more of a, like you say, it's more of an experience than a full game.
A sideshow.
Yeah,
absolutely. It just almost, a throwaway thing that just a proof of concept, if you like. It's like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy VR, which sounds amazing. I mean, I've lost all my passion for it now, as you can tell. But if you'd have told me Final Fantasy VR a few years ago, I'd have been jumping all over the place. And now it's like, yeah, I expected disappointment, and there I have it. So I'm okay.
Absolutely, but these are the games. You have them with your HTC Vive. These are the games, or these are the experiences that are going to be coming out with PlayStation VR, along with the Batman one. These are the experiences that are going to be coming out for people to. It's when you get your mate round, as you've done, a couple of times. It's like when you get someone round. This is VR. Stick something on, and that's what this is, isn't it? And that's what. Definitely listening to people's hands-on with the Batman Arkham VR. That's definitely what that is. It's kind of, hey, check this out, you're Batman, and you just stick that on, and you're like, I'm sold, I want to buy one. I think that's kind of exactly what these little kind of things are. You love Final Fantasy, you got a PlayStation VR, we're giving you that something extra. It doesn't sound exciting, doesn't sound like it's going to be a system seller, but if it's £5 and you want something kind of just to show off your new shiny PlayStation VR, then this is definitely kind of something that you'll probably jump into. Because I'm guessing the world would look, even though it sounds pretty lame, the world would look amazing.
It should, yeah, everything should look amazing. Yeah, so it just to be there, there'll be a lot of Final Fantasy fans, because there surely still is loads of them out there, and they'd love this.
Absolutely, and it's really interesting. I heard, I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about PlayStation VR. It was all about the Coda version of Volume by Mike Biffle, and they were saying one of the best things about PlayStation VR over the other headsets is that there's no foam. On the PlayStation VR, it's encased in leather or a wipeable material.
Wipeable.
Yeah. So they said it's absolutely perfect. So what they were doing in between, when Mike Biffle was showing Coda to different people, in between they were just they had some PlayStation logoed wipes that they were just wiping down the PlayStation VR those. Every time. And I was just like, this is what I want in my house when I'm passing it around. And they just kind of wiped it down, dried it out, and gave it to the next person.
Imagine your sanitation.
Absolutely, I am going to be.
If you had a PS4 PlayStation logoed one,
I've got PlayStation VR is my VR of choice just because it's the cleanest.
And this is the thing, it's not to be sniffed at that, because it is a bit gross transferring sweat around a party of people who are getting sweaty in VR, and that's why my solution of the headbands I think is a great solution, but it's a bit awkward. It's like yeah, here's VR, you've got to wear this.
Yeah.
Why have I got to wear that, they say? It's like, well, it gets a bit hot in there, and it's just better because it makes for a more comfortable experience as you pass on the headset, that it's not soaked in your sweat. And I think it is a bit of a design flaw, that, and it does, a wipeable cover would be better, like soft padding. Yeah, soft padded leather.
Exactly.
But then that might get slippy.
No, indeed, it might start slipping down your face. But at the moment, PlayStation VR edges out just because it's got a wipeable head-mounted device. Darren, what's the next piece of news? Get us off this quickly.
It's a bad picture. We need to eject. Right. Yeah. The next piece of news is that Michael Bay is getting involved in VR.
That's going to make us sick, isn't it?
So there's no escape. He is teaming up with. Partnership. He's going to make a partnership with Los Angeles-based startup The Rogue Initiative, and they're going to develop original entertainment properties for the platform.
Wow.
So that's interesting. It doesn't say which platform. It's a bit vague, this, really. Mainly, it's just an announcement that Michael Bay's getting involved with VR, and he's going to partner up with The Rogue Initiative. The filmmaker's going to direct, and The Rogue Initiative will produce. And what they're going to produce what they describe as a gritty, danger-close action coupled with Michael Bay's signature style. So I don't know if they're going for games here or films or sort of smaller sort of film bites, if you like. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really say. There's not really much more information than that. But we can expect to see some VR experiences with a Michael Bay influence. So his sort of penchant for action could well be a great fit for VR. Like and as you say, that kind of thing that you want to show to somebody that comes round to drop their drop their jaws.
What kind of VR are you playing?
This is my trick. I try and get people like so mesmerised with VR that I can get them to drop their jaws.
That's how you get the ladies. I'm gonna have a chat with Claire. Actually, jeepers. Anyway, yes.
From sweaty head.
Yeah, you get a sweaty head and your jaws are dropped.
So drop their jaws. This might be just the kind of thing that you'd roll out. But I don't know about something that would have longevity. I suppose that depends if it's going to be film based, short based, or game based. But they're going to develop projects for film and TV for platforms like Sony PSVR, Oculus Rift HTC Vive, Samsung Gear VR, Netflix, Amazon, and Hulu.
Wow!
So we're going to see some more Michael-based stuff. It'll be interesting to see what comes out.
I mean, it's really interesting with kind of movies and VR, because I think at E3 there was an experience that was shown, which was The Wire. So this is the movie about the chap that walked between the Twin Towers, and you could then stick on VR, and then this was playing. So the bit where he's kind of walking across the two towers was playing, but they had you in a room, and they had a fan blowing at you as well, and there was even, I think, a line of wire on the floor, so you could feel that between your feet, like on your feet, and then you're kind of walking as the player is like walking. You're walking across the Twin Towers, and I just think things like that would just absolutely blow my mind. It's, you have that movie called Hardcore Henry that I was talking about a couple of pods ago, where it's all in first person. So you imagine that. Imagine that in VR, that you're just sitting at home, sitting down, VR on, and then this movie's on, where it's just playing out entirely through a first person view.
Yeah, or like the end of the Doom film. Yeah. Because that goes into VR, into first person, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah, and I think you said about this the other day, and I haven't seen this. And it's quite funny because it popped up on Netflix, and I was pondering whether I should sit and watch it.
I've never seen it. I've just heard about the end.
Right.
It goes in a homage to the game. It goes into like first person mode. But yeah, that could work really well. It's just, yeah. I mean, you're saying about there with the rope and treading on the line as well, and feeling that under your feet. Whoa.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. It would be, and it's a great way to give people that experience in a perfectly safe environment. I noticed the other day on Steam, I'm not sure if I mentioned this on the podcast, I don't think I did, but they brought out some spider phobia software that helps cure you if you've got a phobia against spiders. I'm not sure if it goes all the way to curing arachnophobia, but if you've got a fear of spiders, this little app for like $3.99 on Steam for HTC Vive, I'm not sure if maybe Oculus as well, helps cure you. I presume it like just simulates spiders walking all over you.
Wow.
First just one maybe, and then more and more. But it's a legitimate aid to try and cure that fear.
Wow.
So yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Talking of curing stuff, the next item is about VR boffins working on reducing motion sickness. A lot of people get motion sickness in VR, and this can happen when, for me, especially when stood up, when you're moving around in a game, but your body knows that you're stood still. Now, when you sat down on the couch playing a game on a TV, it just doesn't happen with me at all, but some people get it to a greater or lesser degree even in that situation. I'm mercifully free of that. I don't get car sick, so I'm not really prone to motion sickness. But if I'm stood up playing a game that allows me to very quickly move around or the floor while I'm stood still, it puts me off balance, to say the least. It's something that is a very strange experience. For me, I think it's something I probably just need to get used to. But like, for instance, Claire, she gets travel sick anyway, and she's feeling sick like an hour's car journey within about 5 seconds, sort of thing. And a lot of people are susceptible to this, and it's just part of it is that they're just not used to VR. Another part is that they're just susceptible to motion sickness, and VR gives it like tenfold, more than any other experience you can have. So it's obviously beneficial to get in VR mainstream if they can sort this out somewhat. So there's a paper that's called Combating VR Sickness Through Subtle Dynamic Field of View Modification, and who the guys at Columbia University have been working on. And they have posited the theory that a lot of motion sickness problems that you get from VR is from when you move in VR, because your eyes experience a disconnect with the sense of balance in your inner ear, which leads to the sickness feeling. So their theory is that by restricting the field of view, and therefore the amount of things that you can overwhelm your brain when you're moving, the feelings of sickness may lessen. And so they've tested this, and it seems to work. They seem to have proved that it works. So what they did, they performed tests getting people to play with an Oculus Rift DK2 with some position tracking stuff as well. And they got them to split into two groups and got them to wander around an environment that was a Tuscan villa with fields of trees and stuff, just a Tuscan countryside, really.
Yeah.
And they tweaked the fields of view dynamically over a period of 2 days. So they found out that it seemed to work, or that it did work. They said that the data indicates that field of view restrictors helped participants stay in the virtual environment longer and feel more comfortable than they did in the control condition. It also suggests that the field of view restrictors helped participants experience less discomfort on their first experience, which in turn helped them transition into their next session more easily.
Wow.
And they also said that the restrictors were actually unnoticed by the majority of the people that tried it. So when they restricted the view, because you're wearing a headset and the view is quite wide, and because you're feeling very immersed in the environment, when they shrank the view, the people using it not only benefited from not feeling so motion sickness, but they didn't even notice that the view was being restricted, which is pretty cool. Half of them said they didn't notice the field of view decrease at all, but even those who said they did notice the changes said they preferred having the restrictors anyway, because it just made it feel just better, just nicer. It took away that wooziness. So that's great news, because I've heard a lot of stories about the sickness and the wooziness that you can get, the travel sickness feeling from VR. If you're a hardcore gamer, or you're an early adopter, or you're just basically interested in VR and you're going to buy it, but you suffer from that could be a bit of a nightmare. But if this works, I'm sure it'll get implemented across the board. So it's really interesting. I'll put a link on the page to the article, and also there's a video on the article that shows how they restrict the field of view. And basically it shows, when you watch VR videos and it shows both eyes and it looks a bit like you're looking through a scuba mask. So it shows that sort of view, and and the two lenses are quite wide. But when the person starts moving, so when they're stood still, it's wide, and when they start moving, you can see it shrink. So you can see what they're doing there. You can see it shrinking the field of view, and then when they stand still again, it opens up again. And the interesting thing is, you can see it really, really clearly on a video like that shows the eyes, as if you're looking through the eyes. But when you're in there, it's sort of all round your face, that field of view. So I could understand that you wouldn't notice it so much. So it potentially could be a bit of a breakthrough.
It sounds amazing, and like I say, similar to what we were talking about with the position tracking, all of this kind of just goes to make the next iteration just amazing. And we know that this first iteration is for the early adopters, but it's so good that all of these little tweaks, these little increments are still happening, and people are just kind of sitting on their laurels and reaping and just counting their cash.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. You took the words out of my mouth. All these little tweaks. And like people, all this myriad of people working on all these different technologies, hopefully they'll all come together, won't they, in the next generation? And wow, every week there's more and more breakthroughs, more and more. Okay, how about this? This would work. Things that we've hypothesized in the past months ago, and then all of a sudden you find out people are working on it, and it's just like, oh, brilliant. So there's a lot of dedication going into making the platform easier, better, for everyone.
Yes.
Really. Yeah, it's really cool. And so that brings us to the final VR news desk item that I think you might like, Anthony. So do you remember we talked about Magic Leap?
Oh yes.
And that's the augmented reality or mixed reality technology that is quite secret. There's not much known about it, except that the website looks amazing. And then the concept video looks amazing of an audience sat in a school gym, all with Magic Leap on their eyes, and a whale basically just jumps up through the gym floor and then does a somersault and splashes through the gym floor, and they all go, ooh, ah, and it's just like, wow. And there's some other videos on there as well, but I especially like that one. So Magic Leap's about augmented reality, but unlike HoloLens, where you've got to wear this massive sort of goldfish bowl around your head, this is going to project it directly onto your eyes, which is part amazing and part scary. So we'll see what happens with that. But Magic Leap are been given loads of money. If you look on the wiki, they've just been funded and funded and funded. They're worth loads. I can't remember how many million or billion it is that they're worth now, which is amazing for a startup. So they're serious about getting this product out. And this week, at Wired Business Conference in New York City, Magic Leap's founder Ronnie Abovitz announced that they will be partnering with Lucasfilm's Industrial Light and Magic X Lab to create immersive experiences for virtual, augmented and mixed reality platforms.
Oh my goodness.
As well as creating those experiences, they're also going to work together with Magic Leap to create Star Wars related content using the Magic Leap technology.
Oh my goodness. So that game that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago, with the Monsters chess, imagine just playing that with Magic Leap.
Yeah, because you could just have a chessboard on a real chessboard, couldn't you? And then you'd put the Magic Leap on, and that would just superimpose the characters.
Yeah, in that kind of
wow.
Harryhausen kind of, wow.
Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely. That would be so cool. And it could do that with anything. Board games could be amazing with Magic Leap.
Really could, really.
Because they could animate everything about them, couldn't they? Like a Dark Souls board game, the Dark Souls board game. Yeah. Imagine that with mixed reality, that when you roll the dice and fight a boss, you get an animated battle going on the board game with all warriors and stuff rushing in and things like that.
Absolutely. You imagine...
Or Risk. Imagine Risk with Magic Leap and augmented reality. Risk massive legions and tanks and stuff.
Yeah,
sorry, I'm getting excited.
Wizard chess from Harry Potter could actually be a thing. Awesome.
It totally could do.
Monopoly.
And your newspaper
Monopoly, if you're the car, it kind of skids around the board and things like that. Dungeons and Dragons. Imagine just what a game of D&D
Dungeons and Dragons
would be like, with everyone having their retinas burnt out by Magic Leap. But imagine what that would look like in Magic Leap. It would be amazing.
I'm so excited about that, and that's just board games.
Yes. It's absolutely endless. That is absolutely fantastic. Cool. So that was announced last week.
It was, yeah, and there's I'll put a link again to the site. This is reported from VR Focus, where I get a lot of my VR news from, and they didn't say too much about it because they're quite secretive, but they showed a video showing some Star Wars augmented reality, and it's got C-3PO and R2-D2 in it, and they're having a chat, and it looks pretty cool. So they could, and it's like they're just in your lounge.
Oh, that would be awesome.
So this augmented reality stuff looks good. I was going to say it's picking up the pace, but we've got no idea when Magic Leap's coming out.
Yeah.
HoloLens is on the back burner. Well, it's not on the back burner, but it's not for consumers yet. It's going to go out more as a corporate technology first. So we're a while away from it, but just having the faith that this sort of magic is being worked on is very good. It makes me feel good.
Absolutely, that's absolutely fantastic, superb, awesome. Right, the next section is we actually have some feedback. So we have some feedback. A listener, Stuart Lambert, wrote in to us, emailed us at feedback@gamersofthelostbox, just like you can as well. And so he emailed us, sent us an email, just saying, "Hello, Sparks. Just wanted to send you an email congratulating you on 2 excellent E3 podcasts." Why, thank you very much, sir. Both the predictions and the rundown podcast were spot on and made my morning commute to work. On this week's show, Anthony was keeping score, but I don't think he gave the final score. Do you know what? This guy is spot on, because it's right. When we finished recording, I kind of went downstairs and I was like, "Oh, I never gave out the score." So could you let us know who won? I think Darren was the clear winner, if my calculations were correct. Grr.
Thank you, Stuart.
So I actually do, in my drawer, the drawer noise there, in my drawer I do have the score sheet from last week. So Stuart also has some more questions, but we'll do the scores first. So
do the drawer again.
Exactly, I'll do the drawer again. There you go, there's the drawer noise. So we have in reverse order. We have myself. I have 1.5 points. We have James got 2 points, and Darren, Stuart was right, you were the out and out winner with 4 points.
Wow, I can't believe it. I didn't. You won last year, though.
Yeah, I think I won last year because of my backwards compatibility thing. So, but no, you got 4 points, and you are the clear winner of this year. Congratulations, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. I'd like to just take this opportunity to thank, obviously, yourself for helping bring this podcast together, my family.
All of your contacts at E3.
Yeah. Cliffy B for giving me... I've got his ear. Oh, fantastic. Hooray!
So thank you very much for that, Stuart. Well done for calling me out there. Apologies for missing out on that scoring. Stuart also had a couple of questions. So he said, I've got a couple of questions for you both. What was your standout game from E3? What's on your next game purchase? Now, we'll just park those just for 2 seconds. He also said, one for Anthony. He said, I've heard on the show that you read comic books. What new titles should I be buying? So let's kind of break those down. We've got 3 things that we can kind of quick run down. Standout games. Now, I think we kind of ran through the conferences and we said that we liked some things, but we never actually said kind of that's it. That was the kind of game of the show for me. Darren, do you have a game or games of the show?
Yeah, I think so. And you know something, we were meant to, but I think we were just so exhausted at the end of it that we just needed to end it. I think maybe we're getting a bit tired. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. Stuart should come on as our producer. I think we should allow him to be our producer because he is absolutely spot on. I would make us a tighter ship.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. They're not letting us just like ditch it halfway through. But I had to think about this, and so standout games for me from E3 were We Happy Few. Yep. Really loved that sort of 60s, sort of Bioshock Infinite style aesthetic, along with that that just sort of conspiracy theory-esque storyline where everybody's drugged up on this joy, and that masks what's going on in the real world. I really like that. So some sort of Orwellian nightmare. Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that. It struck a chord, definitely with me. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Right.
Just think that game looks fantastic. You know, I was going to say God of War for that section, but you know what? God of War is kind of like Gears. It's going to be more God of War. You know, I'm gonna get it, and I love God of War. But Horizon Zero Dawn is a new IP, and it looks really interesting and new. So Horizon Zero Dawn, I think, is one to watch. I think it looks excellent. Can't wait to play that. And finally, I had 3 standout games. Legend of Zelda, surprisingly,
right.
Looks great.
Right. Fantastic. I'm
really happy with the open world, the way that it looks, the interactivity, the way that you can go to anything that you can see in the distance. You can go, you know, this sort of standard open world, really, for today's standards. But to have that in a Zelda game is just really awe-inspiring and really exciting. And the amount of different things that you can do that I've seen Link doing in the world on the gameplay that I've seen, which is not too much because I don't want to spoil anything. But I just think it looks really good. Really nice, clean aesthetic. Looks nice, looks like a really good, fun game, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I'm not surprised the queues were 4 hours long to get a go. And it looks like, from what I've watched and from what I've read of the critical reception, it's not disappointing at all. So that's not much content from Nintendo in the last few years, but this, I'm hoping, is going to be up there with the standard of Mario Kart and Mario World, etc. And I'm thinking that I won't be disappointed.
Right. Fantastic. I think for me, I echo your sentiments with We Happy Few. It was definitely the kind of that game that really kind of just grabbed me, and I was like, oh, I'm very interested in this. I mean, there was lots of big games. We mentioned a lot of them last week, but for me, I think the standouts for me were We Happy Few, and I hinted at it early on in the episode, in the show. It was Forza Horizon 3. So I think those two kind of were my real kind of standout games, and the ones that I'm really excited to play.
Yeah, I mean, there was loads to get excited about, so it's quite a difficult choice, which is why I've got 3, which is cheating a bit. But there was a lot. I mean, I could have put God of War 4 down there, I could have put Last Guardian down there very easily.
Yep. Sea of Thieves, I can't wait to play that with a whole bunch of people because I just think that's going to be hilarious.
Yeah. Sea of Thieves, Gears.
But you're right, you know, God of War, Gears, they are just, I mean, I'm very excited. Nicola and I even think about taking some time off work for Gears, but the ones that really kind of like, that's a little bit different, it's really piqued my interest were Forza Horizon 3 and We Happy Few.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we go to next purchase, do you kick off with that?
For me, my next purchases based on things that I've either pre-ordered or I have already, pre-ordered basically. My next 3 pre-orders.
You knew already because you look at your pre-order list.
I have them sitting on my hard drive. Well, Lego Star Wars is actually a physical, so Lego Star Wars Force Awakens. That's kind of, I think, next week, or actually on Tuesday, I believe, as we're podding. So Lego Star Wars Force Awakens is one of my next purchases. The others, I've talked about it already on the pod, is No Man's Sky, and Inside as well, from the makers of Limbo, Inside, which is only, I think, about a week away as well.
Oh, excellent.
So,
good choices.
So I have 2 in June and then 1 in August. What about you, sir? What's your next purchases?
Again, I'm the same as you with the first 2, Lego Star Wars, so I'll be getting that next week. I couldn't resist the offer that I talked about on the pod. It's £17.99 with the full season pass, so I got that. No Man's Sky, obviously, and then Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Excellent.
Would most probably be my next purchase after that, which would be a great story game. So that'll be the next sort of like story-based game, because No Man's Sky is a bit open. So by that time, I'll probably be longing, a bit like you mentioned, I'll be longing for some meaty story to get my hooks into, and Deus Ex will be the one, I hope.
Absolutely. So those games that you got there, will you be playing them all on PC?
Oh, blooming heck, that's a good question. Well, Lego's ordered on PC.
Yep.
Yeah, No Man's Sky, because if they bring out VR compatibility, I want to be able to play it, and I've got my VR on PC. And Deus Ex will probably run better on PC. So, yeah, sugar.
PC Master Race, that PC Master Race. And then
I feel like a traitor.
Yeah, and then the last, that was good. PCs. You're getting the best version of all 3 of those games on PC. And then the last question was about comic books. Kind of what new titles should I be buying? So I had a bit of a head scratch. I had actually a bit of a look on what I've purchased over the last couple of months, and I would strongly recommend the new Star Wars books that are coming out from Marvel. So we have Star Wars, which is, I think, is about a 20-parter already. Really good. There's some fantastic books, great artwork. They're really good. They're in between. They're in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, and they are really good. So you got Star Wars. Also there's also a Han Solo one that has only just come out. Really good. So issue 1 of Han Solo was out, I think, either last week or the week before. There's also a long-running Darth Vader, which has a bit of a crossover with the Star Wars comics as well, and they've just been a really good read. There was also a C-3PO one-shot, Lando Calrissian, which was really good, and I believe we're getting a Boba Fett one coming soon. So the Marvel have some really good Star Wars comic books. Other ones, especially at the moment, I was thinking about stuff that's kind of cutting edge, either been out for the last couple of weeks, is DC have just done a reboot, and they're calling it DC Rebirth, where you have a running title throughout the summer called DC Rebirth, and then all of the titles, Flash, Batman, Detective Comics, Superman, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, all of the Wonder Woman, they've all been rebooted back to number 1. So if you're new to comic books, then the DC line is fantastic. It's a new telling of the story for people who have been reading comics, such as myself, for years, but it's also a really good jumping in point for anyone who hasn't read comics or hasn't read a DC comic book either before or for a while. So they're the so DC Rebirth, there's a whole load of those. Like I say, there is a running title called DC Rebirth, and then there are number 1s that you can pick and choose. Bit of a hint, bit of a tip, on the back page of DC Rebirth is actually a reading list and a reading order, if you want to kind of read the other ones in the right order, so which is always good.
Yeah, definitely. That's a handy tip.
Indeed. And then over on Marvel have also kind of kicked off their summer event, which is called Civil War 2. So that's another one of those another kind of big spanning all of the titles. It's been very interesting so far. It's absolutely stunning. The artwork in Civil War 2 is fantastic, and again, they are not kind of rebooting the titles, but Civil War 2 is going through all of the other titles. So we've had a Spider-Man tie-in. The great thing about that is if it's a tie-in, because it does have a big Civil War logo at the top of the comic book. So whether you're buying it digitally or you're kind of going into a comic book store, you know which ones are tied into Civil War, because they do have across the top, they will have a bit of a black banner, and they will say Civil War, Amazing Spider-Man, or something like that. So you know which ones, if you want to kind of... It's a way of just expanding that storyline. You could get away with just reading Civil War. I think we're 2 issues in now, but if you want, there are other like I can say X-Men, Amazing Spider-Man, Gods of War, lots of titles there. And then the last 2, a little bit kind of left field. One of them is called I Hate Fairyland, by one of my favourite artists, which is a guy called Scotty Young. It has a very distinctive, almost cartoony kind of look to his art, but it's stunning. It's absolutely superb. He did all of the Wizard of Oz books, so I believe it was DC who published his Wizard of Oz book series, which is just absolutely stunning to look. I absolutely love them. I've got them all on digital, and I've even got some in book form as well, and they're absolutely stunning. But he's done a comic with Image Comics, so it's a bit more kind of adult orientated, which is called I Hate Fairyland, which is about a girl called Gertrude who was 6 years old, and she was transported to Fairyland. But the problem is she stayed in a 6-year-old's body, but she's now 30. She's disgruntled, she's crazed, and she is incredibly violent. And I think the very first comic book just had like her kind of standing on the top of a mushroom man with a bloody axe, and she'd obviously taken a swipe at him. And it's one of those comic books where you just kind of read it and go, this is wrong, but it's just absolutely superb.
I wonder if that took some inspiration from Hit Girl from Kick-Ass.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of, if you kind of cross Hit Girl from Kick-Ass with Wizard of Oz, you've kind of got I Hate Fairyland, and
sounds good.
She is potty mouth and hilarious. And I think there's looking on my app now, I think I have about 5 of them so far, so they're already 5 in. And like I say, the covers alone and Scotty Young's artwork is just absolutely stunning. And he's Wizard of Oz. If you like I Hate Fairyland and you're into it, then like I say, Wizard of Oz is also, the Wizard of Oz stuff is really good to read. And then the last one that I just wanted to, I could go on for hours, but the last one that I wanted to just throw in, because they have just re-released it digitally, and also we're getting a DC animated movie next month, is Batman the Killing Joke. So this has just come back onto the DC store. This is Alan Moore, Brian Bolland, I think from about it was around 1989 when this came out. It is absolutely superb. It's such a great and a little bit harrowing graphic novel, but it's absolutely fantastic. It's about 60 pages long, and Alan Moore and Brian Bolland. The artwork is stunning, and if you are kind of curious, if you look at the kind of opening cover of Batman the Killing Joke, you will notice that the new Joker that we're getting in the Suicide Squad is very similar to this Joker. It's a very interesting, which is maybe one of the reasons why they have re-released it digitally on the DC app.
Cool. Well, thanks, Anthony. I'm glad Stuart asked that, because that was a really nice, interesting, illuminating, quick 101 of comic books.
Absolutely.
Really awesome. Cheers,
That's
man.
kind of a quick, kind of high level, kind of skyscraper level of the comic books. So that's about it. So on that note, again, thank you very much to Stuart for writing in. It was really interesting. It's a great couple of questions and a really nice kind of little addition. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Stuart.
And so that's about it for this episode. Big thank you for listening. Don't forget, you can keep up with us at gamersoflostspark.com. You can also find us on Facebook, on Twitter. We're at Lost Spark Pod. You can find us on YouTube and also on the Gamers of Lost Spark PS4 community. Darren, where can people find you online?
Yeah, you can get me as Wythamator on PS4, Xbox One and Twitch, Dazagamer on YouTube, and at Dazwitham on Twitter.
Fantastic. For me, I am Chessman on Xbox Live. I'm PS-Chessman on the PlayStation Network, and I'm Chessman UK on Twitter. Don't forget, if you have any feedback or would like to ask a question similar to Stuart, please send it to our email address. That's feedback@gamersoflostspark.com. Also, if you're feeling generous, you can leave us a review on iTunes. So, that's about it. Thanks very much, guys. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.